I
Oh,
was
really?
operating straight cash until I was like,
Operating
maybe
straight
like
cash.
16 or something like that. Like,
This is the Imperial Schools of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
and I am Jay Baxtron.
And we are going to be bullshitting about the 400 years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. Today we are ripping tickets out of the skee ball machine and turning those bad boys over to the kid at the Chuck E. Cheese counter for a shiny new issue of Nintendo Power issue 18. Issue. And you can find the issue on archive.org if you want to look at the shit we're looking at. I'll drop the link to that in the show notes, as I always do. Please rate and review the podcast. It makes us feel really good about talking about old video game magazines and other shit. And what are we jamming on now? Jay, what are you jamming on now? It looks like Diablo, probably. Makes a lot of sense.
Yep, a lot of games. First, I feel like we need to talk about ESO. As you may or may not
Diablo must suck then. We have gotten to the bottom of this.
No, it definitely does not. It definitely does not. But first, I would be remiss if I did not mention ESO in this chapter. That, you know, they just released the newest ESO chapter. Necrom released a brand new class, like the Arcanist, a new trial, new storylines, all that kind of good stuff. And I could not care less. For the first time in like 8 years, I have uninstalled the game and I am done.
You said those words in our last episode, and I don't know if that's why I started seeing ads for it or noticed them and I had already been, I don't know, whatever. But I saw those words in an ad for ESO after you said them on the thing. And I don't know, I just thought
feed
that
the algorithm for you. Yeah, man. I wanted to reflect on it because, the best of the times I had there for somebody, this is the only game I've played for such a long time in my life and had a lot of great times when we had an active guild. After moving to Seattle, they were a big part of my social scene because it was adults only. So, like, we would get on, shoot the shit. Like, I made a lot of guild friends there that, I play other games with. But at this point, like, the guild friends I played with don't really play the game anymore. Like, there's just not enough to keep me going in that game. So,
have you ended up luring any of them over to Diablo, as I suggested?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Oh, for sure. Okay. There's several of them that made their way over there on their own. And a couple people I was like, yo, you got to get on this. So, yeah. Close the chapter on ESO and definitely have been jamming so much on Diablo 4. I have 2 characters now. You can see Black He-Man behind me if you're watching this on the screen. I love this dude, my barbarian. He's not the first player I made. I made my sorcerer first, like I always do. But having a barbarian that looks so badass and has such great skills, it's just a lot of fun. I'm playing with family members, people at work, people in the old guild, like. It's still a blast. Like, I pretty much got so Courtney and I are still playing through the main story with my sorcerer, but I like my barbarian so much that I basically leveled him up to the same point so I can just take him forward instead. It's great. A lot of great gear, the great storyline. Everything's solid about it. Except the fucking microtransactions. It is, but at the same time, I don't think you need them. So if you don't know, the skins, everything in this game is absolutely expensive. It's like you see a cool set of gear you want to buy. It's like fucking $25 or something. Like, absolutely not. Like the same kind of set you would see in a different game, like a Halo Infinite, a cool set is like $10 equivalently, maybe 12 on an expensive one. So it's just like, it's absolutely just gouging. But at the same time, you get so much awesome gear in the game, and they have like a transmog system where when you pick up stuff, if you salvage it, you can now like make your own gear look like that. So it's really not even necessary to buy those. So that just seems like an extra money play to people looking out for the whales, and trying to fleece them for some extra cash, but absolutely not necessary for enjoying the game and making the character look the way you want them to look. So playing that continuously. Outside of that,
I saw there was, I need to keep better notes, better shit talking notes. I've seen, there's a few things I've seen people talking shit about, and I'm trying to think. I'm sure microtransactions is obviously one of them, but no, I mean, if that was, because that's obviously discussed me as well. So I mean, I would remember that it was something more nuanced than that. But
I
so
don't
I
know.
guess this is a pointless diversion of.
Well,
of
I will say,
conversation.
I do know, like, if you play the game on hardcore mode, where you can't die. If you die, you lose everything and have to start over from the beginning. A mode I would never play personally. I like tough games, but not that. I don't want to accidentally die and have that happen to me. But I did hear about, because you have to always be online. I know there was like the first person who made it to like 100. Like,
oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, it was online shit.
Disconnect.
Yep. Well, a whole bunch. They got. That's what it was. They got hacked, and everyone was fucked for a while.
Oh, I didn't even.
There was a big hacking thing, and they weren't. No one was able to get online for an extended period of time. And
that happens often, like a DDoS, direct, service attack.
Those letters seem to. I think that's what it was.
A bunch of people get together and they're like, we're taking this game down because we're mad at it for whatever reason, or we're sticking it to the man or whatever. But yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But that sucks as well when that happens. But yeah, it's funny. I have so many new games. So I got a bunch of new games recently, just being at work, finding out a bunch of extras that people are no longer playing. For the first time ever, not ever, let me take that back. For the first time in years, I picked up a game with no recommendations, never heard of it before, just because it looked like my type of game, and I'm absolutely glad I did. The game's called Raiden 3. I actually picked up Raiden 3 and 4, but because 3 is so good, I'm just playing that right now, and it is a awesome flying shooter. I almost put like the screenshot up behind me because it's like, me and my flying shmups and like how I love them. If you took like the best vertical flying shooter you can think of, and like made it for the Series X with like upgradable weapons and like graphics.
Yeah, I feel like I don't even see that kind of thing on modern systems.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is like one of those things. I think we got it like from the publisher because they sent some extra copies, to the office, and we had a couple extras lying around. So I picked it up, and it is a freaking blast. I'm kind of mad that I've never even seen like any kind of promotion for this game. It's absolutely great. Yeah, not much else to say about that. It's a flying shooter. You know me. It's my jam. Also, Big Rumble Boxing Creed Champions, based off the Creed movies. Any chance you've heard of this?
I think there's actually a Creed game for Quest 2. I mean, yeah, I know that they've made boxing games based on it. I don't know about that one specifically, but...
Yeah, I've been playing so many first-person shooters for so long. And like, whenever I just need like a 15-minute, let me just de-stress or go hurt somebody type of thing, that's what I go to, a Halo Infinite type of thing. But like, I've been looking into just something else, like, can I get into wrestling, boxing, something like that. So another one of those games, I was like, oh, I haven't heard of this before. But, based off of the Creed movies, which I enjoy, the Rocky movies, my mom loved them, watched them because of her, and then Creed, solid franchise on its own. But yeah, this one is the now iconic Adonis Creed. And, decent storyline to get through him. But then once you play through his storyline, there's still a whole row of boxers to unlock based on the Rocky movies and the Creed movies as well. And it's so fun, just like hand-to-hand combat, knocking fools out. I had to play through this other loser storyline to unlock Mr. T, a.k.a. Clubber Lang, my favorite bad guy from all of the Rocky series, and he just knocks motherfuckers out with a one. It is so much fun. Like, there's sometimes, when you get off work and I'm just trying to de-stress. Yeah, Halo's fun, but like I'm almost too good at that game now to where like it's always like a focus and like strategy and all this kind of stuff. Whereas like boxing, yeah, there's strategy, but it is just far more satisfying when you're in the mood to just like hit somebody with a special uppercut and bounce them off the ring ropes. So incredibly fun. I've unlocked Rocky. He's a blast. Apollo Creed, some other people. Freaking Ivan Drago, the Russian, like just knocking fools out with his power. And each character has their own boxing
If he dies,
style.
He dies.
Exactly. Like I definitely unlocked Apollo Creed and got revenge against Ivan Drago. But like his like, I forget what they call him. Maybe like a slugger versus like different finesse boxers. Each boxer has their different style. So depending on who you get, they're much more good with the rope-a-dope versus like one shots. Like if you hit them, like a lot of times if he or Clubber Lang hits you, you're going down to one knee. Like you're staggering and it's going to be a problem. So I really like the nuance that they included for each of the boxers. So if you're into like a boxing game, highly recommend that game. I got a couple other ones as well, but I'm going to I haven't played through them enough yet, so I'll save them for the next episode.
Okay.
But yeah, lots of boxing, lots of flying shmup action, and then hack and slash through Diablo. That's been filling my time, man. What about you?
I also have had some mindless things that I maybe don't normally talk about, probably, in these little fucking things. But the first thing, coming off that Legend of Zelda Doom mod that I talked about last time, I mentioned I thought I saw a Castlevania idea in that launcher as well. So I went and downloaded that and checked it out, and it is absolutely, it's called Castlevania Simon's Destiny, and it is a Doom 2 mod. And it's fucking great, but they expect you to platform. And
Platform,
I don't know,
VR platform.
VR, well, it is VR also, yes, but I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that it's in the Doom 2 engine, which, if you recall, jumping in those games, it's fucking awful. And yeah, I mean, the VR, it's cool, and they are a 3D space, and that makes the game cooler for sure. But like your actual, it's not real 3D, it's flat pixels in a 3D space. So it's not...
It's no Astrobot 3R. It's not like made for... It's not what you expect. Yeah.
Precisely. So, I don't know. I guess it would be possible for, whatever. But I think it's more that it's in the Doom 2 engine is the problem. And yeah, Doom 2 platform. And I don't even know if Doom 2 really had much jumping in it, if any. But it's definitely a big thing in Hexen and Heretic. And... awful. It's fucking terrible. And I mean, yeah, you're even in Heretic and Hexen, you're just saving before you make any jump of any note whatsoever. And like I said, it's Castlevania, so it's like just as much of the maybe not just as much, but it's a lot. And it's not fun to have to save every fucking 3 seconds, It's just not fun.
No,
so that is a real drag on what otherwise would be really cool. Because, it's the fucking whip, too. So it was wild how it has the aiming thing going on, just like as if you were a gun, but with the whip instead. So it's just a cool... Like, I didn't expect to have that with it's not quite a melee weapon, but it's close, So yeah, I didn't expect to have that same kind of like free range attack, whatever. So that was a cool part of it, but yeah, the jumping's fucking not fucking good. So I was like, well, I can't fucking stick with this, as much fun as it is, and the music's great, and yada yada yada. But I started digging around for more things in there, and really started playing Brutal Wolfenstein, which is what's behind me right now. And this is absolutely elite, dude. Like, I had played, like, Wolfenstein was my introduction to those ID first FPS games.
Oh, really?
I had my uncle on that shitty little 2 megabyte of RAM IBM PS2 he had that on there, and like, that didn't have an onboard sound blaster, but he like would tell me about how like on, like a little bit better of a computer, you could get a Sound Blaster 16, and those dudes would be yelling in German, and the dogs would be barking and shit. And like, I know this, it's so hard. There's no way for someone like a modern gamer who didn't live through that era at an old enough age to be like really cognizant, at least to some degree, as I was as like an early teen, of like how earth-shattering this was to like be killing Nazis and they're yelling at you in German and you're just blowing them away. Like, that is, it was like unreal. Like the dogs, like I said, barking at you and shit, and they're like it just mind-blowing whatever game development advancement, so that hit me really fucking hard back then. And, but even on that shitty computer, it would run. So I played a lot of the first episode, but I just had the shareware version. I never had the later episodes. And there's like 6 or 8, I don't know, a whole bunch of fucking episodes. So I played through the first one all the way. There's 9 floors to that. So, I don't think I'd even done that, to be honest with you. But I played through all of that. Great. Beat the fucking final boss, this big, huge fucking dude, And then started into the second episode, and these are full, like, Brutal Doom is like, I don't know, it just turns it into kind of like bloodier and like it's just like extreme violence, So like, you'll fucking mow down a room and there's like blood dripping from the ceilings and shit. It is just like absolute mayhem, So really, really cool visually. But yeah, I hadn't played into the second episode, and it's not just Nazis. You get into like these undead hordes and stuff that are, I don't know, I just didn't expect that to be in the Wolfenstein thing. I thought it would just be Nazis the whole time, because the first few floors of the first episode, it is like, so in the old version, that's the thing too. These remakes, the brutal, the one I'm playing is like a reimagining of the first two episodes. So it's like, I think it's similar, but like a little bit.
They added more to it.
Yeah, it's a little more flair to it. So there's like all these zombies and shit. There's just way more to the world, and I'm kind of blown away with the, I guess, layers to it that I didn't think this game would have or does have. So yeah, the second one is like all this laboratory stuff, all the, you're fucking blowing up beakers and like these fucking vats of industrial waste and stuff that they're making these fucking creatures from and shit. It's a lot more going on than I thought there was. And I'm actually at the second boss for this second episode, and he's like, or the final boss, and he is like this massive, crazy ass scientist, and he's just vaping me over and over and over again. So I'm pretty stuck on that. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get past him or not. I've tried quite a number of times, and it's just like instant. I don't know. There must be a tactic or something that I am not aware of, because he just like annihilate. And I'm going in with like full 200 health, every weapon possible. Like I am like, that's the thing too. These games are like super kind of the only way to find those secrets. It's just wall checking, So like I'm checking every and like I can't not do it. I have to get the 100%. I have to do it. It's like I am just fucking going along these long hallways and just like hitting the button over and over and over again and finding every secret. But if you do that, you get a lot of cool shit, cool weapons and stuff. And that's the thing too. You can add on. This launcher has so many layers to the mods you can do. So like you can, turn on Wolfenstein Brutal Doom. So now you're in those maps, and then there's weapon pack mods, so you can change the weapons in it. So I have like an enhanced weapon system that I'm using or have access to. And yeah, I have some crazy ass weapons that I did not know were in Wolfenstein either, But so I'm going in there with even those, and it's just like the guy is still vaping me. So we shall see. But really fucking cool. And yeah, I mean, if you have, like I said with Legend of Zelda, like if you have any nostalgia for these games, this VR adaptation of them is just, I just cannot explain how incredible it is to re-experience it that way. It's just so, I don't know, such an incredible furthering of your whatever imagination you might have applied to playing that game. Yeah. 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I love Doom, love Duke Nukem. Never got into the Wolfenstein. I just saw the Nazis. I was like, I'll pass. I don't even want to deal with Nazis. But I get the appeal.
Yeah. It's I mean, you don't have to hang out with them or anything. They're just you're just vaping them. To me it's kind of cool because there's all the, I don't know, there's just a lot of little things that kind of, it's more rooted in reality, I guess, and that's kind of interesting to me, as opposed to the fully fantastical fucking portal to hell thing going on with Doom 2, but very much of the same vibe for sure, just as far as mechanics and everything. It's essentially the same game, just a little more basic or a little less developed, I guess. So I've been playing a lot of that, and then I still pick up Night in the Attic in VR on my Quest every now and again when I want like a relaxed experience. It's super, especially compared to these things, which are just like, they're not quite Doom 2016 level of intensity as far as like VR shooter goes, but it's way different than just something chilling in place and like kind of mellowing out. So still playing that a little bit, and then I started a Kill Quest on Willow on NES. Oh yes,
gosh, I hate everything Willow. How
really? Everything about it is a very extreme thing. I mean, I don't really have too much of an opinion either way. I'm not like a Willow fan. I wouldn't mind rewatching the movie because I think however long. Well, I know how long ago it was, quite a while ago. But the issues are 9 and 10 that I'm using from Nintendo Power as like my source material, literature of antiquity, while I play. So it was quite some time ago, I guess, that we were talking about that. But I don't really remember it, and I kind of wouldn't mind rewatching the original. I, of course, have no interest in the new one. I'm sure it's horrific, but I wouldn't mind rewatching it. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. As far as the source material goes, whatever. But the game, man, I'm glad that I'm doing it this way. I don't think, as I kind of hypothesized when we like really basically kicked around as a potential side quest option, I don't think it makes me worry about any of those real-time ones. I just don't know. There's just not enough complexity in the dialogue trees and stuff to have all like the way we do those side quests. There's just not as much there, you know? So I don't know. There's less to interpret, and so much of the side quests are about us interpreting these basic iterations of these vast and somewhat complex story worlds. Sorry. I don't know if that will work. You know, even like Crystallis is one we have on there that I think maybe like it is a infinitely more complex game. There is a much more complex story. But I just don't know if the gameplay will lend itself to the same thing. I don't know, because you can't just set the controller. I mean, you can pause, but like it's fast. You know, it's faster paced. You know, I just don't know if it'll work. In any event, it is great for this though, and just playing through it and just momentarily consulting a Nintendo Power when I'm kind of don't know what's going on, or I would like a little bit of a hint of what to do. You know, so it's really fun doing that, and it's cool. I'm streaming it, of course, so the fucking. Some of the disciples are popping in and hanging out. Al's fucking walking me through some of the clunky shit in the beginning, because it's a Nintendo game, so there is a little bit of stuff. There's not a lot, in all honesty. And dude, it's Capcom, so like, shouldn't be too surprised. They're fucking incredible in this era. But like, this is 1989. This is early Capcom, early NES. I'm kind of blown away by some of the quality of life stuff, dude. There's a fast travel feature, like. Yeah, you find an ocarina that calls this kind of pterodactyl type thing that you rescue at one point, and it'll come pick you up, and you get to just pick these 4 major POIs in the game that are, kind of spread apart that you can just go to, so you don't have to trundle your ass through all these fucking screens, and I was like, just absolutely shocked that was there. There is, which is a little less progressive, I suppose, because it is in Dragon Warrior, but there's what amounts to an outside spell. You get the spell that, so when you finish a castle, you can use it to leave at any point if you're in trouble, I guess, but I use it basically when I finish a dungeon or something. Instead of having to walk my ass all the way back out, I can just cast that spell and you're outside, so little shit like that just makes it like a lot less of the expected runaround of this game, which kind of surprised me. So, it's not the problem with playing these games with these stories like this, that you want to experience the story, that's fun, but like it's like a fucking pain to do so. Like a lot of that is alleviated here, and I was very surprised and pleased by that. So that's cool. But yeah, just in general, man, the combat mechanics are kind of varied. You have both a stab, like a thrust, and a swing that's kind of like a half circle arc, so the enemy interactions, which are, like I said, real time, so there's quite a few different enemies, quite varied attack patterns to them. You have to there's good combinations of having to use either the thrust or the swing, or combinations of them, or you have a shield and using the shield to defend on a timing-based thing is there with some of the enemies. So, like, the battle mechanics are also pretty complex and interesting. It's not just fucking button whacking, which is also kind of surprised me. There's a ton of items and swords and shields and magical items and spells and stuff. So there's all these different functions. There's a ton of stuff going on that really make it pretty fucking enjoyable. Like, I'm impressed. I'm 4 episodes in. I've played little less than an hour most of the time, so quite a ways in, so a good headway, and I would guess my expectation is maybe another 2 to 3 sessions like that left of it, so it's not like the longest game ever, but there's a nice bit of substance there. So yeah, it's not, I don't know why, I just got a hair at my ass, and I was like, I feel like playing something, and I was like, fuck it, I'll stream it, and then, maybe 20 minutes into it, I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, I'm going to end up beating this game for sure. Like, this is a good-ass game. So, yeah, that's a cool-ass thing I kind of stumbled into, did not expect. And then the last thing I have is trying to figure out something kind of long for me to play. I ended up picking back up the coin game on Steam, which I talked about a while ago. It's the one-man developer where you are the kid in this kind of tiny rural town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you have to go around and do
stuff.
chores and shit. Yeah, to make money to go play at the arcades. So I started playing that more, and I mentioned like some of the controls were clunky and stuff, and like it is still not great on that front. But I have gotten I've figured all that shit out, so it's pretty seamless to play now. There's not as much friction of just actually interacting with it, which is nice. I've kind of figured out the nuances, and like even the things that suck, I know how to kind of cheese them to make them suck less and make that problem go away. So, the friction is kind of gone, and I've explored more of the stuff. Like I mentioned, all these, I was doing the paper route, which was the first thing I got into to make money.
Right.
There's also babysitting and then lawn mowing. And then you can also go around, and I kind of was looking around trying to figure something out, and I saw this on a Reddit post or something, but you can also scavenge in the trash dumpsters and trash cans all over town and shit. And you find like trash, because part of the economy too is like, I don't know what else you save up for other than this really that's major, but the big thing, there's a golf cart you can get, so you don't have to use your bike, you don't have to get around on a bicycle, and the golf cart's like 10 grand, so you have to save up all this money to get that, to buy from the gas station guy. So that's like the big thing that I'm saving for. But one of the way, there's this pawn shop / recycling shop thing you can go to, and you kind of just throw all the shit into the machine and hit the button, and it just spits out a certain amount of money that these things have the value of. So one of the things you can do with that, it has this kind of this LED board on the front door or outside the front door that tells you, like, it's kind of like a stock ticker almost, and like these are the things that are more valuable today there's a higher demand for them or something, so you can use that to then go to the arcades where you earn those tickets to get the prizes and shit, all the cool ass toys and stuff, and there's boom bus, all sorts of shit that you can get, but some of that shit on certain days is worth more money. So there's like this economy to it where you're like, you don't want to just burn your tickets on dumb shit because you want to save them up to get the better things in general, of course, but also have them available to you. So when you see like a particularly valuable thing having this value at the pawn shop, you sprint over to the arcade where it's located. And there's a bunch of different arcades too. Like I mentioned, there was like the just normal arcade kind of in the middle of town. I mentioned finding the carnival thing out by the lake last time. I also found this kind of like bigger, it's also an arcade, but there's a laser tag thing there, and that's like, those don't even earn you tickets. Like you just spend money, like it's a shit you can go do, like and that are fun. There's this laser tag game, and then there's a go-kart fucking track that you can race on, and then I keep seeing pictures for a putt-putt course somewhere. I haven't even found that, so I don't know where that's at yet, but that exists somewhere. There's another big place on the other side of town, so there's all these fucking places you can go to. So you have to like know where that item might have been by knowing the inventory at these places, and then okay, I got to pedal my ass out there and spend my tickets on it, take it back to the pawn shop and sell it for that, and get this increased amount of money to help me save. And so there's like that economy thing going on, which is really cool to embrace. And then yes, the chores, dude, the mowing the lawn chore it's like, have you heard about that? I think we've talked about it briefly, but that power washing game that is like, yeah. Simulator. So it's like, it's that concept of like this really zen, shouldn't be fun thing, but it's so well executed. You have like it's a push mower, so it's like you go over, you fire it up, and it's like, you can't, those things you can't really, it's like, he's a kid too, so like I don't know whether this is just, some of it, like it might just be shitty design, but it works for this because you're a kid trying to push this mower that you're not big enough for probably, so it's like kind of fucking tough to keep it online and do the thing perfectly, but like you go into the lawn, there's 4 parts of the lawn, and like, there's shit you got to deal with, the trees and stuff that you got to go around, whatever. So, but you're trying to do the perfect thing where you start all the way on the outside and do the circling till you get to the middle. So it's like, it's crazy satisfying, and you make a ton of dough when you do it, when you finish it, And if you don't finish it right, he won't pay you either. So you got to like, if you leave like patches and shit, and like, it's still, it's not like individual blades of grass. You can tell that there's like a little bit of a blockiness to it, but you can just miss a little bit and not even notice for sure, So it's nuanced enough to make it actually challenging and just crazy satisfying to execute, And same with the babysitting. I figured out the babysitting too. You like got to go into this neighbor's house. There's 2 kids running around and they're robots too. So they're robot kids. You got to pick them up. You got to put them in these like crib dock things. They look like, it looks like a machine dock, but it's like literally you put it in and it's called the baby-matic or sleep-o-matic or something like that, and you lock them in. But if you don't, like, you go in there and they're just running around tearing the place up. They're just literally, there's a toy box and they're just pulling toys and fucking throwing them everywhere and, like, just making a fucking mess. They leave dirt on the floor everywhere they go and shit. So your first priority, you have a checklist. You go in there and you have like your immediate priority is get those fucking kids to bed so they stop fucking the place up. So you grab the kids, you take them to bed, and then you go back out to the living room. And yes, there's toys everywhere. So you got to pick each toy up, take it back to the toy box, and then there's this Swiffer in the corner, and you got to take the Swiffer around. And it's very similar to the
Power wash.
lawnmower thing.
Yeah.
In that you gotta do the Swiffer right in the right places. You go around, clean up after them, and you can like eat their food while you're there too. And there's a survival mechanic, like I said, So there's like it's very I don't know. I've never babysitted before, but I kind of see that you're stuck in someone's house. So like I've dog sat before, and like you're tempted to just use their shit. so like it's fucking.
Well, they should tell you, hey, you can go ahead and eat the food in the fridge. They should.
They should, but they don't tell you this. There's no parent. You just show up. They're like. You can just come over whenever it's hilarious in that regard. There's so much quirky, tender loving care in the build of it. That's so quirky. But like, yeah, they're not there. It's not like you go to their house and like the parents are leaving and they give you the rule, whatever. You just like the kids are just running amok and their parents are gone and you just come over whenever you want to deal with them. So it's funny and quirky in that regard too. But
out of everything you just said, I'm more sitting here wondering, like, what type of neighborhood does this kid live in where the gas station dudes sell golf carts? Like, where are we at? Like,
dude, it's that's again, it's super quirky, but like, and like I said, it's not descript in its time setting, but like, it is just like growing up in Oberlin. Like, if I had had a bicycle to be able to get around with, and kind of just been able to autonomously operate as a early preteen, or late preteen / early teen, it's probably just like this, dude. Like, just no supervision. You're just running around doing whatever
whatever, kid, do what you got to do.
Right, exactly. Fucking keep yourself out. Oh, you're out fucking earning money? Sure, whatever. Like, good job.
Don't die.
Yeah, don't die, right. And like that, you're avoiding traffic, you're riding that bicycle around. It's fucking, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's so quirky and so fucking cute. And they open too, I mentioned, it's a single developer doing his own thing for however long he's been working on this fucking thing, and so it's not done, and it probably never will be. And I mentioned how last time there was an ATM next to the convenience store where you get your like groceries before you go home, like your goose food for your pet goose, which is another just quirky thing at the house, and you have a fish tank, so you got to get fish tank food, and you got to get your own, they sell kids cuisine, they sell frozen dinners that you got to feed yourself with, these kids cuisines, and then like Swanson frozen dinners, Band-Aids for your health, or like quick health pick or whatever, you buy shit there. And I mentioned that there was the ATM next to it, but it had the under construction sign in front of it last I'd played. Now when I came back to it, he had finished the ATM. So now there's an ATM system, which they have one there. They have one over at the really far away arcade, UFO arcade with the go-kart track and shit. And this, because I mentioned you're saving for this big fucking thing, and it's just a simpler way to save, basically. And you earn interest, So it's just cool. I'll stop at my end of the day after I do all my arcade and chores and shit. I will stop into the convenience store to get my pet food and my own food, and then whatever money I have left, I will stop over the ATM and put that shit in, just like a kid. I don't know. Did you have this is a fun question, a fun nostalgia question. Did your parents take you to the bank and open up a savings account for you when you were a kid?
No, not at all. I was
really?
operating straight cash until I was like
operating straight cash
16 or something like that. Well, I think at one point, like my dad definitely worked at Bank One / Chase at one point, so I got an account before I was 18. But like I don't remember a savings account like that. No.
Really? So I remember. So it happened twice. I remember being really little because I mentioned I got an insurance settlement from my dad. Well, my dad got an insurance settlement from being in an accident right around when I was born. So when I was a kid, I was getting I was getting some money from that. So like when at some point or another, they took me to some bank and like opened a checking account in mine or a savings account in my name with one of those checks or something, you know? Mm-hmm. And I remember being a whole thing, like my dad ended up like taking that money and spending it on whatever dumb shit at some point. And that was like part of the divorce thing that was like, it was always his perspective that it was his money because he was the one that got injured and yeah, whatever. So that was always his perspective on this. So that was part of the thing when my mom died and they were like custody and all that shit. That was one of the things I remember was like one of the court talking points that like he had done whatever. So whatever, that's the whole thing. So that I didn't have that one my whole life, but I remember going to the bank and doing that. I remember sitting in the chair and remember doing it. And then also later on, I remember when I got my job at, I was in that OWA program, my freshman year of high school. So I started working when I was 14 and had, I started as working for the school. And then once they eventually got me a job at the grocery store bagging groceries, fucking collecting carts in the fucking parking lot in the snow and shit, So I was 14. You can't go to the bank and open your own account. You had to go with your parents, right? So my dad took me and like we opened an account and like I remember it was just so satisfying to have like your little checkbook and like I don't believe I could
Did you have
write
a debit card yet?
No, I don't think I could get a debit card. I think I could. I had an ATM card, but it wasn't. You couldn't use it to make purchases, Yeah. But yeah, I remember having and I don't even think I got checks either. I don't think I was allowed to have a checking account, but I still got the little book with the deposit slips and the little ledger. So
you could write your balance.
Yeah. My balance and shit. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I remember just both those experiences, just huge, like really, really satisfying kids experiences. So I just think it's a really cool, it's a nice nod to what this whole game is about. Like having your savings account and you go there, you put your little card in, you deposit it. There's also, I don't think it's functioning yet, but I've seen there's something you can like donate to get there's like some sort of also economy that you can like use to transfer money from the ATM. And like, there's just a bunch of really cool systems. Like I said, he's still adding shit constantly. It's just such I don't know. There's no game like it for sure, And I still don't know if it's definitely not for everyone, but like there is something about it that there is no question a sect of video game players, I guess retro-minded ones in particular, that like it will check a lot of boxes for you in this really weird, satisfying way. So yeah, I think I'm pretty hooked on it. And I also figured out one of the things too. I thought I wasn't able to play with just my Xbox controller sitting on the couch, like with it piped into my TV. And I finally figured out like all the button shit to be able, that was part of the friction too, that I had to be at my computer because there's still keyboard stuff I had to do. And I figured out, with the exception of a few things, every now and again I'll have to stand up and come over and like hit a button on my keyboard. But it's seldom enough that I can just sit on my couch and jam, and that was a huge inhibitor as well. So I think with that stuff all overcame, I'm going to, $10,000 is a lot of money, but there's just so much about it. The skee ball is so good. Like the video games, that's what I mean. The individual developer, dude, each game is like, they're just so nuanced
like
and well developed.
Level?
Better, dude, better. They're more developed and more nuanced. I mean, like that quarter pushing game, dude, the physics in it are incredible. There's this game where it's themed as like a beach pirate thing, and like there's a shovel stuck in the sand in the middle, and you have to use this arm that you control that just has like a little circle thing on the end of it, and there's all these balls sitting on this surface, and you have to use this thing that's also round to push this like full layer of balls without hitting the shovel in the middle, and it's timed. And there's just, the physics on each little thing that you can hit are perfect. Every one of the little weird games they're all feel good, which is great because that's all the game is really, but it's surprising nonetheless because from a single developer standpoint, it has to just be so much fucking work to make those not feel shitty. Any of them feel shitty, the skee ball, I can't get enough of the skee ball, dude. I just cannot get enough of the skee ball. It's so much fun. And it's cheap. It's an individual developer. It's fine. I think I said 10, 12, 15, I don't know, it's $14, something like that. It's great. Fucking great. Can't recommend enough. Okay. So that's it. Let's talk about Nintendo Power.
Gremlins 2 Stage 1 theme, bringing us into this episode of Nintendo Power numero 18. Little Spanish-English mix there for you.
Yeah. Multilingual
little
podcast.
Spanglish.
Worldly. This is a worldly retro gaming podcast.
Guess I should have said 18. Maybe that's more appropriate. There you go.
I don't know. I don't know. I can count to 9 in Spanish.
You need to work on your international game, Josh.
Yeah. Well, this is why I did not choose international business. Languages are not my bag. But this is the November-December 1990 issue. The cover price is $350 US, $450 Canadian. And Dr. Mario is our cover feature. It's got that clay sculpture aesthetic to it, as most of them do in the mag's early run here. And Mario is standing on a stepladder, lab coat, stethoscope around his neck, head mirror on his head. And what is a head mirror, you ask? It's that disc with a hole in it attached to a headband that doctors don't wear anymore. And that is because it was intended to reflect light shone onto it into a cavity that the doctor would look through the hole at. And they've thought of smarter solutions for this since that was in practice. And yeah, when I first pulled this up, it occurred to me, I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is or what it does or when it went away.
I've never seen a doctor wear that in my life, but like you recognize that's a doctor.
I definitely had a doctor playset or something as a kid where I had one of those things, you know.
But you're like, how do I do this? Does it go on my eye? It just sits on the forehead. That's
right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense as like an archaic tool to, yes, get some light into like an ear or something, you know. It makes a ton of sense. But yeah, I intuitively was not able to guess that looking at it. And yeah, that you don't use them anymore. Yeah, I was, Amy was to work the one day and I'm texting her, I'm like, ask your dad. Her dad's a doctor. I was like, and he's retired now. I was like, ask your dad when he stopped using a head mirror. And she's like, what?
She's like, I've never heard of this thing.
Yeah. She's like, I guess he said he never used one, I believe she said.
Definitely, it must be one of those old-timey things that we just recognize from like our parents' generation because their parents or something. Somebody at one point had one, and that became the standard thing that we use to identify what a doctor is. That and the stethoscope around the neck. That's how you know it's a doctor.
Yeah, that's how you know it's legit. Yeah. Don't even need the coat anymore. Just need that stethoscope. Yeah, I just thought that was fun. That I was like, I need to do research.
Otherwise, this is a freaking cool cover, man. Like the colors, like it's got that bright pink, like with the yellow, like it grabs me. Even as I'm not a Dr. Mario fan, I'm still grabbing this, picking up.
But you need to fix that is a cardinal sin. You're so wrong about that.
No thanks. So I recognize that I may be among the minority with that episode. My daughter was even playing this a couple weeks ago. Like, you know, on like the Switch online kind of thing, and she was like talking about like, oh, this is so fun. And I just looked at her like, oh, for shame.
It's dude, sit down and play against her, dude. Sit down and play because it's a. We'll get into it here, but yeah.
No, I will say this. I recognize the fun in it because if you recall, like several episodes ago when I was playing Pac-Man Arcade Plus, like there is a Pac-Man game, I forget which one it is, that's very similar to this. Like similar in terms of like the style. Obviously it's not bugs and germs, but like a similar play style. And that's really fun. So I'm like, all right, I get that this type of game is fun. Fair enough.
It's the head-to-head side of it, dude. Like the one player or whatever, but the head-to-head component of it is just, it's next level. Next level. Yeah, so he's up on that stepladder. He's got the clipboard underneath his arm. He's standing. It's cool too. Just visually, the color scheme, is great. But it's cool because, so he's like, it's like a miniature thing going on in a bigger laboratory. Like if you look at the background and the shit in the background, it's like based on his size in the foreground.
He's like Smurf size, like 3 apples high. You know?
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, and like the jar that he's standing above is like, it's not even a jar. It's like a vial, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It looks like a giant mason jar size, like a giant one.
Relative to his size, I think it's like one of those things in the background, you know, like it's one of like a little medicine vial, you know? So, yeah, and inside you got a couple claymation germs and a bunch of the pills and stuff. So, yeah, it's just really, really cool, really well done. There's one hanging off the outside of it, too. That's really well done. Good art design on this cover for sure. And yes, it is one of the ones. This was in my subscription run, and yeah, it is just a very stark memory. Like looking at it is a very, very strong memory, and that is probably also a testament to the good art design. So the headline for Dr. Mario here is Contagious, Fun, and Challenge. And then they have huge reviews, and they're touting Castlevania 3, Solar Jetman, and Little Nemo. And that is quite a goddamn lineup, I would say, for the reviews. And then they mentioned the players' poll here leads to the Super Bowl. And you know who was in that Super Bowl, Jay?
Not at all, but I'm sure you do.
Yes, it's the Buffalo fucking Bills in the Super Bowl 25.
Was that one of the four in the row?
That was the wide right by Scott Norwood against the Giants, the first one, the big one, the real heartbreaker for sure. And I actually, if you can believe a universe existed where this was the case, Jay, I was not a fan of the Bills at this time. Like, this was prior, I became a fan of the Bills as I watched, or rather I should say, as I experienced the pain of watching that kick sail wide right in my bedroom crying alone about the $5 in lunch money that I lost against the kid I bet at school on that game. So when this hit newsstands or hit my mailbox, I guess more notably, I was not a Bills fan yet. So there was, I've already said I can't believe I wasn't better or more inclined or somehow whatever, didn't embrace the contest write-in stuff more. At least I don't think I did. I don't remember doing it, which... anything with mail, I just can't believe I didn't engage that stuff because I was so any kind of like taking my own fucking correspondence or doing my own correspondence with the U.S. Postal Service. Like I just could not get enough of that as a kid. So I'm shocked that I didn't try to win these things. But yeah, I wouldn't have had the inclination to on the basis of liking foot. That's probably why this one specifically, because I didn't care about football at all, really. I don't know. 4th grade is about when I started to give a shit in general, but it certainly wasn't what it became at that point. So that's why I didn't win this, I guess, amongst other reasons. So into the magazine, they're not going to shill as shamelessly as they did in last year's holiday issue, where they had a full-on catalog segment. But they are finding a way to get us into the capitalistic holiday spirit right from the jump here, nonetheless, in the form of a 2-banger Christmas-themed magazine subscription pitch. And the headline up top is Light Up Your Tree with Power. And then there's a live-action photo taking up the full 2 pages with some NES, like it's a tree, like a picture of a Christmas tree with NES game character ornaments, Mega Man, Mario, Luigi, Princess Toadstool. And they've also photoshopped a handful of magazine covers from back issues in here to look like ornaments, so.
Very cool.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty cool art design. The pitch copy is suggesting you give the subscription as a gift, and they have included a stocking stuffer gift certificate that you can fill out yourself to give to the kid you're gifting, so they don't think you're totally full of shit when you claim to have changed their life with this bestowment. So that's pretty cool, too, that you give you this thing to actually put in their stocking, which is fun.
If I was an adult at the time, to give that gift would probably feel pretty damn cool. Like, there you go, child. Enjoy your life. Go for
there's I wanted this. It's not because based on the timing of, like I said, my first issue was that Super Mario Brothers 3 one, and it just doesn't time out for that to have been the case. But yeah, I would love for part of my genesis into Nintendo Power to have been getting this gift certificate in my stocking. That would have been incredible, Didn't quite have it that beautiful of a catalyst into it, but the TOC gets us from there to Player's Pulse, where we start with the mailbox, and the whole first page is responses to a prompt the mag assigned readers back in the July-August issue to write in with your worst gaming nightmare disaster stories.
Oh my gosh.
they're all, I would say they're all pretty terrible and zero stakes, except maybe the one about the kid flushing 4 Game Boy packs down the toilet.
I can't even believe that. They worked after 4 days? That's some impressive...
And they don't even mention using the rice trick.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Which would have been... Now you would think to do, probably. But yeah, back then, that wasn't in the common vernacular of practice to fucking fix wet electronics. Which does work. Have you ever used that? Have you ever done that before? That fucking blows my mind that it works. It works.
I don't think I did, but I knew about it. I knew about it enough to know, that's what you're supposed to do. But I guess I took care of, the few NES games I did own. I, took fucking good care of them.
Well, I don't mean for a Nintendo game, for phones. Have you ever done that for a drop phone in water?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It blows my mind that it works. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So we do have an Ohio appearance in here, at least, if there's nothing else to talk about in these letters on the writing prompt ones. There's one from Aurora, which is the home of the SeaWorld Ohio location until its closing in 2000. Okay. Did you ever go there as a kid?
No,
SeaWorld?
Never did. No. I feel like, no, I take it back. Not the one in Ohio. I went to like the one in Florida as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely went there at least once or twice, and I have vague memories of getting wet and shit sitting in the, fucking crowd.
I will say it's actually very interesting, the one in here where they're talking about Nintendo helping like this woman's son's eyesight.
Oh yeah,
like that's fucking amazing.
That's incredible. Dude. Yeah, it's a long letter on the second page, falling outside of the purview of the writing prompt. So yeah, I definitely have this to talk about. This one is awesome. Yes, so it's the mom is writing in to tell us about her son. So her son was legally blind since birth, right? Mm-hmm. And they did tests and stuff, and they were able to tell that he struggled to be able to see moving objects unless up very close to them, and then even in that case, they had to be moving relatively slowly for him to be able to track them. So they had this existing knowledge, and at age 3, which is young as fuck to get a Nintendo, either period, and I don't give a shit what your disability might be, or if you don't have one at all. But his grandpa buys him an NES at age 3, and he plays this. And how does it? I mean, he's only 3, so he's not even listening to anyone really yet, probably. But the parents are probably pessimistic about his ability to engage it. Yeah. At least that's my expectation. That's
I hope he has fun here. I don't know if this is going to work.
So yeah, I struggle to see them beyond the first day of opening it, really pushing it even, But whatever the case, however it happens, he engages it enough to he ends up playing the shit out of it. And a year later, they have his vision tested for school, and they learn that the muscles in his eyes had strengthened significantly from the constant tracking of movement on the screen, that he's probably fucking up against the fucking screen almost, and yeah, so his eye muscles had strengthened enough that his vision had gotten considerably better in just that 1 year of playing it. And yes, that is just an incredible fucking story. And yeah, the kid is absolutely obsessed with Nintendo, vision improvement aside, and by his mom's claim anyways, his dream is to go to the University of Washington and work for Nintendo developing games. That's like a 4-year-old kid's dream. And of course this is by his mom's interpretation. Who knows how much that's actually self-generated, but whatever, either way, fucking incredible. I started Googling on it. I wanted so badly to find this kid.
Right? Did he ever make it to UW?
Exactly. If he actually became a game developer, I don't know if I might have had to quit the podcast or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Are you like Julie Snipes' son? If you're out there and so let's grab coffee, let's talk about it. We'll
yes, absolutely. Let's talk about your fucking career in video games, because that would be the greatest documentary biography, at least in my view, that I could ever possibly make. I don't know if I've ever talked about this. How did I find him? I don't remember how I found this. I found there's a kid. He's actually I think he's in Ohio. But I found this kid who, he's not a kid, he's a young man that legally blind also, but blind, cannot see. It's not a partial vision thing. And he took interest and learned to become a sports broadcaster, like a color commentator, obviously not the play-by-play, but a color commentary sportscaster. So playing off the play-by-play man's work, basically, he's able to bring valuable sports commentary to a two-person broadcast of sports events. And baseball in particular is his favorite. So yeah, I found this kid, and I saw the story and I was immediately fucking. Wow. And so I find it right. I'm like, we got to do it. This is a documentary and a half. Let's talk. Kid's super receptive, and it happened right. I found this kid right at around COVID.
I was about to say pandemic. I'm sure.
Yep. And yeah, so I actually need to follow up on it. That would be fantastic. I got fucking not working right now anyways. That'd be a perfect thing to be working on. But so I mean, he's super enthusiastic too. I mean, the kid reaches out to me periodically about it. He's like super enthusiastic about this. He works with the foundation too, so he's trying to get the foundation out there. Like, it's fucking just incredible story. And yeah, it's good, dude. The kid is good. Like, he's able to, again, he's playing off the moment to moment shit the play-by-play guy is feeding him or feeding the audience, and yeah, just so impressive.
Gotta have incredible listening and skills, like just wow.
It's amazing, really cool story. So yeah, so this same vein to me, same idea, and just really fucking cool. So awesome shit. They are now issuing a new letter prompt in here, asking readers to write in with stories about having gone to great lengths to acquire a game, and they cite examples like camping outside stores, which, I wouldn't even have guessed. I guess Dragon Warrior had been happening in Japan, so maybe that's where they're getting that, but like it's not really I wouldn't think it's really a thing back then. Yeah.
Like, give it 10 years, and people absolutely.
For sure.
Like, I still remember being in New York when we were acting, working like one of those marketing gigs for one of the Call of Duty releases, like outside of a GameStop at midnight, and them selling like the amount of people. I was like, holy shit, I gotta get
especially
into Call of Duty
especially
right
in
now.
NYC too. Like, it's one thing to camp outside on the sidewalk in bumblefuck whatever. It's a whole nother to
this is down by NYU,
right? It's like underneath some scaffolding, like just fucking rats and shit everywhere. Oh, gross.
And people hyped as fuck.
Crazy shit. Yeah, that, traveling long distances, et cetera, et cetera. So we shall see if the readers do better with those stories than we got here. And the last in the Player's Pulse section is Video Spotlight. And it's kind of cool. It's a grandfather writing in to tell the story of how he and his 5-year-old grandson get down on NES shit together, which is pretty cool. Nice big age gap there. And he does a semi-creative spin on the actual writing by not revealing their age gap.
Yeah.
Until the very end. And he goes through all the ways in which, leading up to that reveal, how the kid is, how his other player is better gaming aptitude, with him, how he shows him all this shit and stuff. So pretty good. Creative choice in the writing. And the first game feature comes in hot after that, a 6-banger on Rare Solar Jetman. And I think this really showcases how much this game has going on, which I have been stressing as we speak about it, as we've seen a few appearances here and there as previews in previous issues of magazines. And granted, I will give a full disclaimer here that Jab had this card. I have reclaimed it from my NES card collection as an adult. I definitely have some nostalgia built into all of my opinions about this game, but I think I picked it up and fucked with it even more for this episode, and I think it's a good game, no matter how much nostalgic spin you could say I'm trying to put on it. Did you fuck with it at
all? This game is a nope for me. Still, it's just not, I don't know, it's just not my jam. There's a lot going on, but it's still just like, I don't know. It's one of those games that if you gave it to me, but if you rented it for me, I'd, give it a good go of it. But I don't know.
Did you get out of the first level?
No, I did not get out of the first level.
I don't think I would speculate you did not fully experience. Well, I know you didn't then experience the full game loop, and I think that is critical. Understanding and actually executing that is critical to enjoying the game. Because yes, if you're just flying around shooting shit, you're gonna be aimless.
Meh, give me a better flying shooter.
Right? Yeah. No, that part of it is not at all the fun part. It's scavenging and finding the things and the hauling mechanics. Did you haul anything back to the ship?
I don't remember hauling anything.
Then yeah, you didn't even begin. I think I said this exact thing last time that we talked about this. You did
not because it's the exact same. Yeah, I forget the game that it is, and I'm like, all right, this looks like I got it going on, and I get into it, I'm just like, man, no. Like,
you haven't even begun to engage the game loop thing, because that's what it all is. Like, the enemies are just distractions to slow you down and keep you from hauling shit back to the main mothership, So yeah, that's a critical part of it. And then also the upgrade tree, which you also are not going to be able to engage until you get to go to the store between levels and begin to upgrade your ship and find, the first thing you find in the first level is a shield, which you don't have in the beginning. So immediately, the first thing you can haul back is the shield, and the shield, you hit down and turn it on whenever you want, or hit down again to make it go away. So when all that shit's shooting you, And some of it can one-shot you if you don't have your shield on. So you turn your shield on, and then you can also bounce into walls and take way less damage. It nerfs a lot of the annoying mechanics that you would get when you first turn it on without that shield. And then the thing is, though, you can't use the shield while you're hauling something. So
right.
You can either go in and clear everything out to the best of your ability anyways, or you have to do this kind of jockeying back and forth between using the shield to protect yourself as something like right when it's on top of you, a threat, a bullet or something, and you got to let go of the hauling thing.
This is clearly a game that I need, like... Clearly what you're telling me is, like,
you gotta play
I need to fully play the game with an actual, like, instruction manual and, like, making sure, I can't just pick this up.
I totally get that. I mean, that, it's weird because it looks like it's not that, but it is kind of, the same thing. It's in the same level. It's a kill quest thing also in that it's like, you need to, there's just enough going on that you can't just, you're not going to be able to do it by just like a casual just play.
Going in. Got it. No wonder. Because that's exactly what I've done both times.
Which is a bummer, because it's there's just so much going on. And it's the tone too. Yeah, and that's the thing too, if you don't get out of that first level and experience some of the graphics and just whatever, all the way things are presented to you, items and stuff, there's a tonality to the copywriting and stuff that is very fun, I think. And they do a good job of conveying that here. I think it's kind of like a goofy tone to it. They, above the feature key art here, they have the headline that reads Federation of Space Loonies. That's the organization that your guy belongs to, and they tell you the story world thing that your goal as a space junk, like you're the crown jewel of the space junk salvager world is your ultimate goal in this game, the 13 parts of the Golden Warship, which there's 13 levels. That's kind of the ultimate goal of each level, is to get that piece of the warship, which is, once you complete it, then your actual ship. So there's another level after that, I think, maybe. But
it feels like a giant, almost like a giant RPG-ish, so I'm just like,
Right, I guess, that's what I guess what I was getting at with the Kill Quest thing is it's not, it looks like just this shooter game, but it's much more like a Guardian Legend or something very Guardian Legend, and that Guardian Legend is this kind of Blaster Master game that just has interstitial flying shooter levels. So that's a perfect comp, but even whatever, just like a Fester's Quest or a Willow, one of those games where you're just like, it's not about the whacking shit with swords is the shit you do in between the quest points. You know what I mean? Same thing with this. So just a lot of really fucking cool shit going on. So the piece starts off with a handful of useful general play tips and great item breakdowns, highlighting the number of weapons. If you look at that too, you can see all the different, there's different, even before that Golden Warship upgrade, there's multiple just full ships you can get on top of individual ship upgrades for a ship you have at the time, Different weapons, all these like homing missiles and mines and just all these different ways that you can implement to make your hauling environment safer, you know what I mean? So there's just, it really is so complex and such a unique game in that regard.
Okay.
Oh, and it's rare and thereby David Wise composed, so the music is absolute fire. That is the Planet 6 approach track. So each planet has a fully scored theme for both the approach cutscene and those all have really dope pixel art. And I posted some of those from the level 1 and level 2 on the socials as I was playing. But there's that, and there's also very atmospheric space world tracks for the in-level part as well. So there's a ton of good music in the game, as most Rare games have. So I think it would be a great game episode. We have Howard and Nestor next, and they're integrating Maniac Mansion here, and Razor joins them as the three-person party going into the mansion, and it's just Nestor talking shit and Razor serving it back at him, which is pretty cool that it doesn't have to be Howard kind of putting him in his place. In this case, it's Razor, which is a little more fun than these usually are. And after Nestor bumps into a few family members, the Green Tentacle, the Mummy in the Shower, and Nurse Edna, he runs outside and gives the hint they dress up with this cartoon, or rather the hint hidden that they are dressing up in this cartoon, and it's being able to rip the bush out of in front of the basement window, which to do that, you have to use the Hunk-O-Matic workout machine upstairs first to get swole enough to be able to do so, which is a good hint and a good example of kind of just the wacky game progression tree that game has.
Which makes sense, because as someone who did not get into that game, like, I didn't, like, the verbiage is weird. She calls him a hunk and hiding, and I'm just like, this is so odd. But, like, I guess if you get it, it's like, oh, great. But for me, I'm kind of like, this is fucking weird, man.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's it's probably, honestly, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say it's the weirdest game on the NES. It's
fair.
Fucking just
from the bit I played of it, that's fair. I'm like, what
immeasurably creative and unique. I mean, just so fucking such a good game. Such a good game. A rip-roaring 10-banger on recent ISOH Game App alum Little Nemo the Dream Master from Capcom is next. Yeah, and again, would have been great to have this. The full maps and key locations therein for every level except the last, Nightmare Land, and would have been a huge help. I wouldn't have missed the Fish in the Water level had I had these maps and tips.
I feel like I saw this issue sometime before playing Little Nemo as a kid, because like this, I'm like, I remember seeing this whole thing, but I'm pretty sure it was beforehand.
Yep. You know? Well, like I said, I had not played it, and I think I rented it off seeing this at one point and didn't get into it for whatever reason. Poorly embracing it as you have done Solar Jetman, I guess. Counselor's Corner after that, just 3 titles: Super Mario Bros. 3, Crystallis, Tombs and Treasure. Super Mario Bros. 3 is an epic one. It is the location of all 3 warp whistles and how to use them. They mention in the opening that despite these being covered in the strategy guide, counselors have been bombarded with questions about these. Here then is the last word on the warp whistles in Super Mario Bros. 3 is how they put it, which is, to me, i.e., shut the fuck up, kids. Here it is. And Crystallis has 3 topics I kept my prying eyes out of because that is a very viable side quest series for us still, I would say. And
I looked at this and I just thought, there's so much Crystallis here. Definitely going to pin this page if I decide to dive in at some point in the future.
Yes, that's smart because it is, like I mentioned, it's more complex than Willow for sure, and just generally speaking, I think a very complex game. So yes, we would definitely want to have these to refer to in the event we engage. Tombs and Treasure gets 3 of its own as well, including an entire page for one of them, which we have never seen for a single hint that I can recall. And this is to answer the question, how do I advance to the next experience level? And that, oh my gosh, Jay, yes, is a scary-ass question to need so much copy to answer.
Just that, with the screenshots, I'm like, this is clearly a PC first type of game, and no thank you on the NES. Just hard stop.
Yeah, it's a port of an Infocom PC RPG adventure game, and the screenshots, support that to the max. Point and click UI, Windows, yada yada. It's not out till summer '91, so we don't get into it now, and I suspect, thankfully. But Infocom it's the Fallout people. They're good RPG makers, so you don't want to say that it's dog shit for sure, but it's inherently going to be in a less than optimal UI. There's no question about that.
For a console, yes, for sure.
So we have our 4 counselor profiles at the end, and as always, and holy shit, we just hit a quad-fecta here, Jay. All 4 of these cat daddies are sporting pristine mullets.
Mulletopia.
Yeah, we have. Call it. Yes, you might. We have Sir Brian Anderson, and he has a Doogie Howser mullet. We have Sir Kirk Starr with a Marty Jannetty mullet, and then we have yes. Sir Lee Douglas, and he's got a John Stamos mullet, and lastly, Sir Sean Bloom with a competing Marty Jannetty mullet.
Yes.
So, while not 4 uniquely standalone mullets, they do all have good ones. And Jay, tell us about your favorite mullet counselor here.
I mean, I don't know if it's my favorite, but I will say straight up, I'm calling bullshit on Kirk Starr. Like, he did not, like, are you telling me you beat Mega Man 2 with 1 life? Like, explain what you mean there. Because he mentioned it as his favorite game. That's what he beat. That's his best NES accomplishment. So I'm like, was that the only game you played? Like, is that the only game you had for like months and months on end and you just perfected it? Like, what? I need more information here.
Yeah. I don't really even think Kirk or Lee are competing, to be honest with you, in this particular competition. Yeah, they're basic bitches. Yeah, they have the same game for their NES accomplishments and their favorite game. That's terrible.
They do have the best mullets though. Like the Marty Jannetty, I think that is the perfect way to describe him.
I don't know. To me, it's between the Doogie Howser mullet and then Marty Jannetty mullet number 2 in my book.
Okay.
So Doogie has tossin', and that's with an apostrophe, not tossing, not ing, frisbees in his hobbies right after listening to Van Halen, and that's a pretty legit hobby list to me.
Right?
That
Tossing
is not just
frisbees, listening to Van Halen.
Yeah, that's fucking great. And then his best NES accomplishment is that he's mastered over 250 games, so he's a real big swinging dick, this guy.
Okay.
And I also think you have to respect how buttoned up the business in the front is on his mullet.
Yes, dude.
Yeah, it really allows the party in the back to soar, in my opinion. So
the others just kind of let it go, however it's going. But he's very much like, no, business. It's business in the front, man.
The most compartmentalized, I guess, is a good way to describe it verbally. Yeah, they're very diametrically opposed mullet components. But I think ultimately I'm going to go with Sean Bloom here. He has making movies listed in his hobbies. His best, not watching them, making them. So, okay, show me your movies, bro. Give me a fucking tell me what's out there. Give me something to YouTube, man. I want to know. His best accomplishment is finishing Adventure of Link with a single life, and then his favorite game is Final Fantasy. So Sean clearly respects storytelling between those 2 games and the making movies hobby, and I respect him for that. And then his mullet has probably the most pizzazz out of any of them, I would say.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of curls going on both parts of it.
There's just a lot going on there.
Yeah.
He needs to work on the business part in the front.
Yeah.
Like, trim it up.
Yeah. So, I think he wins on maybe that just standalone, but also Sean has a modern presence that is findable. And his current website, it's seanbloom.com. Very easy to find. He has become quite a successful web developer and remains in the Seattle area, Jay. At the very, very bottom of his resume on his site, it's a mere footnote in a short paragraph titled Additional Engagements Include. It says he was a level 5 customer service representative at Nintendo of America. So, it doesn't even call it a game counselor. He doesn't
even say game counselor.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Like, did he change it because he gets bombarded with morons like us on the internet bugging him about it? Like, what?
Maybe he was trying to market himself to be more serious as a developer, and I don't know. That's very interesting.
I don't know, man. But I mean, his resume's a mile long now. It's like, to me, this would just be a fun anecdote, to an otherwise already impressive resume. There's no need to pump himself up at this early in his.
I find at this point people are more interested in stuff like that. Like, oh, what was that like? But maybe he's gotten so much of it, it's like, dude, just no.
Right? Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, fuck off. Let's talk about my actual work here. That's my best hypothesis, but. He also has his personal motto on his website, which, let me please read this for you, Jay. His personal motto is, don't cry over spilled milk. Cry over David Lee Roth's hair now. So, I don't know. Be inspired, Jay. Are you inspired? Okay. Be inspired.
Not sure how to take that. I mean, his hair, I can see where he was inspired there.
Yeah. See, I was thinking... I looked at his name too when I first got in here, and it sounded familiar to me, or at least I thought it did. And a slight bit more Googling revealed that it's because he was interviewed, which maybe is a testament to what we're talking about, I suppose, that he was interviewed by the AV Club in 2015 about his time as a game counselor. And I had found that article. I don't even think you were potting with yet. I think that was like a very, very early thing that I dug up, Googling around for some shit about game counselors, and it's a pretty interesting, good read. I'll drop it in the show notes, of course. But yeah, he talks a lot about just kind of the vibe of being a counselor real early on at Nintendo Power, or Nintendo headquarters rather. So pretty fun. Nice. We hope to see all of you esteemed gentlemen in our next Mullet Counselor Championship playoffs whenever we get around to hosting the next one of those here on the ISOH social channels. Another big game feature hits next, a cover feature payoff 9-banger on Nintendo's greatest head-to-head puzzler of all time, and not a Mario game, Jay. Dr. Mario.
How can it not be a Mario game with Mario's name in it? Like,
you can only
platforming. He's not jumping. I understand that, but it's called Dr. Mario. It's Mario. That's the dude.
Man. If you're gonna call this a Mario game, you have to call Mike Tyson's Punch-Out a Mario game. You have to call golf a Mario game.
No, it's not called Mario's Punch-Out. He's just a ref. He's just making an appearance. That does not make him.
He just makes an appearance in this. He's just
the dude dropping the pills.
He's just some sprite work on the fucking side of the play area of a puzzler.
ISOH listeners, who is right here? Is Dr. Mario?
Yeah, right.
Let us know. We needed a poll up. Is Dr. Mario a Mario game?
That's a good. I'll make a note to do that. I will actually do that. That's a good poll. That's a great fucking poll. Actually, is Mario a Mario or Dr. Mario a Mario game? So yeah, not unlike the Tetris issue and the game feature inside, I was immediately thinking, how in the fuck are they going to drag 9 pages of coverage out of this very simple single-screen puzzle game? And not unlike the Tetris feature, though, also, they did all right, I would say. There are 4 pages of table setting and basic game concepts, where they unabashedly compare it to Tetris by name on 2 occasions, and then the last 5 are titled Mario's Med School, and these cover 3 different large-scale strategy concepts they term clinics. And those are how to set up a practice field, then how to set up a practice field, then intricate explanations of setting up double and triple matches to better equip you for head-to-head play, where they are critical for your ability to compete, Jay. I cannot stress this enough. That's the thing, too. If you haven't played a bunch of head-to-head of this, there's just no way to even understand what is the really fun part of this game. Then they close it out with a board exam of 4 virus situations and give you multiple pill options to complete them for doubles or triples with. So it's like brain teaser style. Very cool mag idea, like almost a game kind of thing,
I like it, but also this seems like so intense. Like this feels like a homework assignment. Like, what am I doing? Like, I got to take a test here.
Dude, I played this game and I was like,
how do you stack them? Like, what is
it?
I feel like I need to read all of this.
Right, unless you, I think, either took the time to replicate it on another piece of paper in some way that you could draw stuff on, or I guess you could draw on your own Nintendo Power, or actually cut them out and play with it visually. That'd be one thing too, which would make probably a lot of a kid that still had that issue, while fun to look at and a lot of nostalgia, really bum you out that you trash your Nintendo Power like that. Yeah, they also challenge you to pull off a quadruple match, but with the caveat that you are more than likely never going to make it happen during actual competitive play. And I can't recall ever hitting one, so that checks out. Other than that, though, I was sad to find that there isn't anything in here that learnt me, whereas that Howie drop in the Tetris stuff actually had some Tetris shit that I did not know, so... maybe I'm probably, it may make sense in the sense that I am, no question, a more developed Dr. Mario player than a Tetris player. Like, I played a lot of Tetris on Game Boy, so it's not like I'm a Tetris idiot, but I have, particularly in head-to-head play, which is always more challenging than a one-player situation, have played the shit out of Dr. Mario. So
yeah, much more of a Tetris guy. Even like the newest Tetris, like the one that's on Xbox and everything. Not Tetris 99, like that one was like meh, but like I can't remember what the new one's called, but that one is a blast because of different game modes. Yeah, give me Tetris all day.
Dude, that VR one is stellar. Have you played that one on Quest yet? It might be the same iteration.
I think it's the same version, yeah, but in VR. Yeah.
Yeah,
because I saw it there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I would, it's not. It doesn't really embrace VR as much as it probably should. I don't think that iteration, but it is a very polished, clean version, and it is. There is like they do some window dressing on it that make it, recognizing that you're in VR. Like the actual game is kind of still just a board in front of you, but like your transitions between levels and the music. Kind of like pulsing or there's
Tetris
visuals
effect.
pulse.
That's
yes.
what it's called. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yep. Yeah, and that is the one on VR for sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's I think kind of pricey at $30 for what it is, but it does have a lot. I mean, it took me. I had that game for a couple of years before I finally got around to beating it. It is quite a bit of content, I suppose. And there's a multiplayer thing you can play as much as you want further. So Dr. Mario though, it's a great game that I did not really come around to until adulthood. So that's even more, I did not, as much as I have played it as an adult, I do not have, that's all been as an adult. I didn't really embrace this at all as a kid. Neither myself or Jab had the NES version as kids, although I do believe he had the Game Boy version eventually. So we played it some, but not a ton. It's borderline crack, man. I said this last time. It's borderline fucking crack. The two instances of this, testaments to this in my life that I can cite. Many, many, many years ago, my uncle bought my grandma, his mom, an NES. I think I've told this story to some degree before, but she probably had a few other games, SMB and such. But anytime I ever went over to her house and saw that Nintendo, it had Dr. Mario in the console, pushed down in the lock position with the cart door wide open for all to see. Always. No exceptions. So that's all she played.
Good job, Grandma.
Yes. So there's that. And then Amy fucking loves this game. She will initiate us playing it and play for as long as I will tolerate playing it. I am not joking.
Wow.
She's like a crackhead. She will just say again. I will finish the level. And she just says again. And she just will not. She will. I'll try we fucking played it a million times. Again. She wants to
Are
play
you
it
emulating or OG hardware Switch?
I bought her the cart for Christmas, like a full CIB copy, actually. So I have a full CIB copy of it. So we played on the original NES. We played that way. We did play it before I had done that. And I still had Switch Online. We would play on the Switch Online version. But I would say that is a poor choice because I don't know, maybe with the better controllers, the Pro controllers, it's not as bad. I can't recall if it was better or not, but I know the Joy-Cons are horrific for Dr. Mario.
Oh, I don't play any of those Switch games. I use I got the legit NES controllers for every NES online game because it's just not the same, man. The smaller buttons, you can't.
Yeah, and the high level Dr. Mario play in particular does like sliding stuff in from the side. And with those Joy-Cons, you can fuck yourself so bad with those. So trying to do that shit. So yeah, it's critical to have the right controller. But yeah, I mean, however we can, I guess is the answer to that question. Yeah, it's very, very good. And I mean, it would be tough to do as a game episode, but just some sort of like fun jam session, I think would be a really fun thing to do for us.
All right.
And yeah, I probably cited before, but it goes back to that ability to drop unwanted extra pills into the opponent's bottle by way of those combos. That's why they're teaching you those, dude. And it fucks you for two reasons, man. It's like it's one, the pills drop at a random horizontal position that you can't affect during their fall.
They just land there.
Yeah, so they can land and fuck up a sequence you're trying to build, and then you have to, same in Tetris, you have to adjust your strategy to make that go away to get back to what you were doing before. So there's that aspect of it. And two, they fall slow as fuck. And this is actually the worst part about it. Like you can fucking... The other part, the first thing is not nearly as annoying as the fact that they fall so slow. So it only further magnifies your annoyance of watching it go to a place you don't want it to go to. So yeah, it's just, and while that's going on, your competitor, the person who dropped them into your bottle, is not slowed down. So you're watching them keep chugging along, So it is just, it is a really painful...
Watching the train wreck happen, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it's so good. It's why I think it obliterates Tetris and the fun factor in that regard, because it's just such a painful competitive strategy you can implement, and it's also, I think, it's like Amy's fucking savant level of Tetris, and we play that head to head, and she just whips my ass. I cannot compete in that. But this, I'm better at Dr. Mario. I think that's hard to argue. But even being savant level in Dr. Mario, you can get your shit trashed by the other player stringing enough shit together, combos and stuff, that you just don't have a chance to get going, you know? So it's like, it's a more level playing field, I think, competitively than Tetris is, which is another, I think, advantage, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, it's a game app. I don't know. Like we've done Zoom, we've done Dig Dug, so it's not that it would be unprecedented, I think. But I think it would be tough. But not due to the quality. The quality of the game 100% warrants a game episode, even if maybe the content itself does not. That is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, Scene 2, Part 1 theme. Getting us back into Nintendo Power 18. And we start this second section with special feature Game Boy, or a special feature on Game Boy. And they are covering DuckTales, RoboCop, NES Play Action Football, and a handheld Dr. Mario that I mentioned we had. We also had NES Play Action Football. Jab had that as well when we were kids.
Nice. I don't think I had either. I didn't have any of these Game Boy games. Like, obviously, NES Play Action Football for the NES, but, like, as a Game Boy game, I didn't have any of these.
It was very different on Game Boy than it was on NES.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Not necessarily bad, just, like, they didn't, it wasn't at...
It wasn't the angle.
Yeah, it was a different, yeah. They went straight north-south for the orientation for some reason or other. Still more focused on simulation, though, too, so, yeah, not a bad game at all, just different. It doesn't hit till December 31st, but that's close enough to the October drop of the NES version to call it somewhat simultaneous cross-platform release, and I don't think you see that very often back then, though I guess we're getting that with Dr. Mario, too, to some degree. Or wait, no, that's what I'm talking about there, not NES Play Action Football, sorry. They've also introduced a new aspect to the Game Boy section this time, a classified information dedicated to strictly Game Boy games, and then they bring back the coming soons and top 10 page here as well. The top 3 are Super Mario Land, Gargoyle's Quest, and Batman. And they then go absolutely balls to the wall on Konami's latest installment to their cornerstone franchise, Castlevania 3, with a 20-page feature. Might be the biggest in Nintendo Power to date.
It sounds like it, man. That's a lot of I was like, page, and another page, and another page.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, you were talking about, you're like getting into it. You're like, well, I'm fucking just blowing right through the first whatever part of the magazine. I'm like, yeah, the first 2 sections of this magazine are wildly deceptive as far as like games to cover, you know, mostly because of this 20-page feature for just one game. That is in addition to the back of the fold-out poster being a map of Curse Castle, Dracula's Lair, too. So there's a little bit more content on top of the 20 pages. And speaking of that poster, the flip side is some Mega Man 3 illustrated artwork featuring all the baddie robots and Dr. Wily's Krang-like giant robot vehicle. Mega Man himself is nowhere to be found on that art, and I thought that an interesting choice. But cool. It's a very cool poster for sure. And they have a bunch of really dope artwork in this Macabre Palooza, the Castlevania piece, and the copy is just as lit. A few things worth reading. Go forth, destroy Dracula with the knowledge of a master. And they are referencing the fact you can take different paths to Dracula's doorstep in this game. And there are at least 3 they highlight here. And they title them or label them by the level of difficulty they present. The first one is for apprentices. This path is the shortest and lets you enter the castle at the midway point. And then we have for devotees, and this allows you to choose Alucard as your companion spirit, but is a longer path, and we'll get into the different spirits and why that's a good thing here in a second. But the last one is for masters, the most difficult way to the castle. It will also start you in the lowest level. So just that fact alone, very, very cool. And that there's that much, I guess, variance to and replayability, you know, to the game, but where you can start it is different. That's pretty new, or a new thing that I don't know if we've seen in many, if any, games. And also here on the first page, they explain what they meant by choosing Alucard, that there are companion spirits you can meet as you go through the game to join you. And they explain that these are pretty high stakes in that you can only have one sidekick at a time. And when you dismiss one in favor of another, there's no way to go back to them. So it's a permanent choice to get rid of someone. And yeah, between those two things, like that is on top of being able to start at different places, you can, as long as they're available to you based on where you started anyways, you can use any number of combinations of those companions as you go through the castle too. So, they have mechanics that completely change how you are able to traverse the castle and interact with the enemies and yada, yada, yada. So just a lot of content here, I think, for an NES game.
Yeah, just looking at the layout here and all of that just seems like a large-ass game. Like, this makes me nervous. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I wouldn't even consider tackling a game like this without a spread, because it's like, I don't think I'll ever finish it.
Although, I don't know, it's still probably, it's not so, and I mean, I guess this is speculative. I haven't played this game very much. But I suspect, and it looks like to me anyways, that similar to, Simon's Quest actually has you backtracking, and I don't think there's a lot of that here, So, yeah, it's not Metroidvania. I think it's much more, like, yes, there's different paths, but it's just much more like Castlevania 1. You just keep plotting along, you know what I mean?
Okay, so, that'd be better. I'd appreciate that more.
I'm sure there's still plenty of perks to using the fucking guide. But
yeah, this Castlevania is just one of those games that, like, obviously played through the other ones. Like, as a kid, it just seemed like there was always a random Castlevania or Castlevania 3 arcade game somewhere, because we traveled a lot. And so I would definitely play it here and there. I played so much of it. It's like they all just kind of run together at some point for me, Like,
I'll give you that. They are.
I'm like, which one is this one? Is this 4? Is this 3? Is this the one?
Right.
It's like.
I played enough of Simon's Quest so could that one stand, and I have this weird affinity for it because of the RPG mechanics, even though it's not the greatest game. Beating the dead horse on talking about that, but I don't know. The story world intrigues me so much. I'm sure I talked about. I remember talking about this when we did the game episode on the first one. Like, the story world interests me so much. Like, I am surprised that I did not embrace them and engage them more, because on the surface, they have all the things that I should like. But yeah, I don't know if it was just some subconscious, the rigid play mechanics or something about that rubs me the wrong way. Yeah, there's just something that kept me off
up
of them
and down the stairs, whipping the things. Yeah. I don't know. It reminds me, it just makes me think of like a worse mechanic style game than Ninja Gaiden. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think of those... in my mind, I think of those two games in the same type of vein. Like, They're platforming, but like I like the stories better there, and I like how you get your power-ups and stuff better than like I got to keep whipping these things and like whipping walls to try to find the secrets and things. Not that it's not a good game, but there's just, I don't know, it just blends together for me and doesn't really stand out amongst other games at that time. That's at least my experience, because I've played a bunch of these and I'll pick it up and I'm like, all right, this is just like the last one with the little tweaks or whatever, but not enough to like really keep me engaged.
Yeah, I
One man's take.
Yeah, I can't really say my pre-existing opinion or childhood opinion was much different, but playing that, I really did enjoy it. The first one was fucking great, so going back to that kind of, while branching, still linear style from the second one, from Simon's Quest, does appeal to me. And I know this game, you see all the fucking power meter ratings and shit we see for it, it's off the charts, so I doubt that it's bad in any way, shape, or form, so I picked up and fucked with it too, and it's good. Very, very good. Yeah. The piece here has all the customary shit: screenshot, maps, item keys, enemy approach recommendations, yada yada, play tips. But they also have some really cool game-specific layout additions that are worth getting into. They cover each of the playable characters, so we can kind of talk about each of those. There's Trevor Belmont's talked about as well, a bit of the backstory and a breakdown of the special weapons available to them. So two of the other three, a pirate named Grant Dynasty and Dracula's son, Alucard, which is its own interesting, fun thing.
That is
Dracula spelled backwards. That's also kind of beating a dead horse as far as Castlevania lore goes. But they must be tangled with as a boss battle before they'll join up with you. I think that's kind of cool.
That's a cool aspect.
Fight them to get them to join you. They want to you to prove your mettle before they'll go to battle with you. That's cool. And for some reason, though, Sypha, or not some reason, they explain why, but the magician character, Sypha Belnades, I think is how you'd pronounce that probably, was captured by a Cyclops and turned into a statue. So you needn't battle him. You just got to frag as capture the Cyclops to get him. So even that's not just like a uniform thing. So
okay.
Some cool variants there. There are also little blurbs styled as being written on worn parchment titled Lore of Great Vampire Hunters, and these contain a range of information, often deep cuts of game mechanics, but also more abstract shit like Castlevania franchise history and quantification of player character defense metrics. And the history one takes us through the story world's progression through both the previous titles, of course, but also Castlevania the Adventure on Game Boy. And I thought this was cool because I don't think there's been much effort to date to link story worlds across multiple titles spanning different platforms yet. You know what I mean? This is an interesting early step on that road of like game universe building that seemed notable to me. An interesting note I clocked in one of the latter ones of these, the difficult items and one-ups blurb. After you beat the game, you will have the option of restarting with another play with the character you finished the previous play with, which means just furthering that replayability stuff is you can play early stages with those characters' abilities and reach things you could not without them. So I mentioned you have to play the one level to get Alucard, right? You have to start further back in the dungeon. So if you played the short version, didn't have, or even that doesn't matter. You wouldn't be able to do that. But if you get him, you didn't have him for the very beginning of the game. You get him later on after you start, so you could go back, play the game, and play those parts with that character's abilities, and that's really cool, I think.
That is
so.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's 100% on my bucket list. This game. So, yeah, I have near zero experience, and it'll be a completely new play to me. So, I think it's I don't know. Any early pre-game debate thoughts on that outside of just your lack of pre-existing knowledge? Are you open to discussing that? Since there's not much else to talk about in this section.
I don't know, man. This is, like I said, it just...
Did you pick it up and play it this time?
No. Castlevania as a series just doesn't get my juices going anymore. Because I played it so much, again, as a kid. Like, somehow I always was, whether it was an arcade or like rented or somebody's house, like I was always getting the next Castlevania game thrown into my lap. Like, all right, I guess I'll just play this right now. And I don't know, man. This might have been the one. 3 sounds about the one that I played. I played like one level and I was like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm good on this series. So, I don't know. It'd have to be a hard sell for me to get into this one.
Okay. Foreshadowing. After these messages,
we'll be right back.
Evil stalks you once again in Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse for Nintendo. But you possess the gift of transformation and become the vengeful ancient ghost pirate, or the son of Dracula who defies his father's fiends, or the mystic warlord with a cloak of magical powers. It's never the same adventure in the 17 worlds of terror of Dracula's Curse. Enter the Dracula's Curse sweepstakes today.
That is a 1990 U.S. market commercial for the aforementioned Castlevania 3. Not a ton of production value, I would say, in between the game footage of each of the companion characters you go through. They cut to the same close-up shot of a cloak hood against a static night sky, and the face appearing in it each time as an actor superimposed some cheap distortion effects applied to it. So, yeah, it's not a lot of busy work on that fucking on that storyboard. So we start on the last section of this Nintendo Power 18 with the top 30, and there is a lot of nepotism in the top 10 in this issue. We have Super Mario 3 and 2 are both here at spots 1 and 7.
Oh, yeah.
Both Ninja Gaidens are back-to-back at numbers 5 and 6, and then both Zelda games at 8 and 9. And it rounds out with Final Fantasy at 2, Mega Man 2 at 3, Tetris at 4, then TMNT, the original one, at 10.
Solid top 10. Top 10.
It is. Yeah, it's good. It's good, but it is kind of like I was just writing a cover letter talking about favorite films yesterday for something, and it's kind of like saying Citizen Kane is one of your favorite films. It's like, yeah, everyone knows that's good. That's not doesn't say shit about you.
Well, I feel like this is also just representative of the time. Like you had the top games and their follow-ups is kind of dominating, and then like the second half, the latter 20, make it up. Then you kind of have some newer stuff. TMNT 2 coming in there, Crystallis. Castlevania 2.
They have TMNT 2 at 13, so you're super close to some extra sequel action going on there. Even though that's not even out till Christmas for the arcade game. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, and then we have they also have another huge franchise installment eking in at Mega Man 3 and 29. So yeah, it's fucking I don't know. Really develop, like I said, developing story worlds here. There's like a little bit of a history now to fucking Nintendo,
You're starting to see like, hey, if you're going to get an NES, you need to get one of these games. You got to get a Mario, you got to get a Zelda, so on and so forth.
In there, we have plenty of Game Ep alums. We have Super C at 14. We have Batman at 15. We have Punch Out only. And we'll talk about that more later instead of Mike Tyson's Punch Out at 25. And then Bionic Commando at 30. And titles in here we haven't hit yet, but I think belong in the Game Ep mix would be both Ninja Gaidens, both Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Double Dragon 2, Shadowgate, Mega Man 1, and then Crystallis on that side quest tip, like we just talked about. So, yeah, plenty of stuff worth talking about in here, and then we move into classified info next. They start with a couple rather mind-blowing Super Mario Bros. 3 Bowser battle hacks that would have been interesting to have known about for that 2-part Epic Game Ep we just laid down. The first is that you can... Did you know about either of these?
Yeah, I actually definitely knew about the fire-free Bowser trick, but like I don't use it regularly. It's kind of one of those things like I learned about back in the day, like, oh, this is cool, but like that's not what I generally do.
I don't need this. I don't need this. I'm above this. Yeah, the first one is you can do this P-Wing exploit in his chamber that glitches his fire attack out of existence, and as well, also too, makes you invincible once you've been turned into Small Mario. So you got to get hit, turn into Small Mario, but not you can't jump or leave the ground. So the interesting thing about that is it means you can't get yourself outside of the middle, you know what I mean? Because then you'd have to jump, and so it's I guess a little bit of challenge still, but
yeah,
obviously invincible makes it much easier. And the second one is you can fly over the left wall of his chamber and find a second identical Bowser battle, and I don't know if you could do both battles. It doesn't say that, but you could theoretically defeat him with a P-Wing still active, and then fly over the wall and do that. So I don't know. I don't know if it means you have to like leave the first one entirely or kill and then go. I'm not sure. But either way, it's an interesting little, I don't know if you call it a glitch, whatever, just extra programming code. And then, though incorrectly labeled anyways, as just Double Dragon, they have Double Dragon 2. And they have a cool trick in here that I recall really liking as a kid. And it's an Infinity Lives trick, I guess is the simplest way to explain it. But you can fight each other and steal lives in that game, like if you're playing couch co-op. So the door is open to exploit that feature at any time. Like if a player's getting low on life, you kind of just get away from the enemies or finish the enemies off, so you have some fucking clear space to work in, and then just kill that other player that's low on life, so that player, the player that killed him, gets the extra life from him, and then obviously the other person can come back and just take the life back. So that is a really cool way to extend your play life in that game.
It's interesting too, because I never got the appeal of playing like 2-player B where you can hit each other. Like I would always
right.
Like, whenever
it's a
I played,
huge
like,
pain in the ass.
Yeah,
if you don't know about this, it's just a pain in the ass.
I'm just choosing to not. Let's turn off friendly fire. Like, why would I not? You know what I mean? I don't want to accidentally kick you when there's all kind of madness going on the screen. It's ridiculous.
Which, yeah, Nintendo does not offer you the nuance necessary for that to feel good when that happens, you know? So, yeah, I agree with that, but here's the counter argument to it, I suppose. It'd be interesting to hear whether, I don't know, what the developer perspective was on that. Like, did they put this in there just because this was there and it gave you that opportunity? Or what,
I just don't understand the appeal, like anytime I see a game where you can hit each other, it's automatic. Like somebody explain to me why you like this option.
Well, again, if you have like a 3D world where like it feels good to not do that because you can actually keep yourself from doing it in a nuanced way, I think I can see wanting to play that way. If you're some sort of like stickler or whatever, enjoy like a little bit at a challenge. But yeah, in NES, it's fucking
you're a madman.
Yeah, you can't fucking. It's not. Yeah. They also have a correction they're issuing here, and I guess they fucked up the continue code in a previous issue, so they like issued a retraction like a newspaper. The codes are interestingly different depending on which stage you ran out of lives in. They group them in stages 1 to 3, stages 4 to 6, or 7 to 9. Each one has a different code you have to do, so that's kind of fun, I suppose. Solstice is also here with an unlimited wizards code that maybe could have made the game semi-playable, in my opinion. It's kind of a
semi-playable. Are you saying you're going to use this for our next side quest of Solstice? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, side quest of Solstice. That's a good one. It's kind of a wild fucking code. Since you actually like this game, you want to read that one for the rest of the kids at the lunchroom table, Jay? You want to read that code for us? That's a fucking bananas code.
Yeah, you ready to get unlimited wizards? All you have to do is press B start BB start BB start B start BBB start B start B start B start BB start B start. Boom.
Boom. Boom. Boom. Drop the mic, walk away. Unlimited lives, unlimited wizards. Yeah, fucking great. That's a perfect. It may all make sense too. That's a perfect code for that fucking game. New section they're calling Now Playing comes next, and this is a 2-page deal. To keep track of the dozens of new releases for the NES every month, we've created a new section of Nintendo Power, Now Playing. Get the lowdown on the latest games available at NES retailers and compare game features by using Nintendo Power's exclusive chart. Here's a look at a few games that will appeal to some game players but won't be covered by featured reviews. So, to summarize, too many new games are coming out to cover thoroughly. So here's a spreadsheet of all the bullshit we don't want to have to really bother with covering, and indulge in these titles at your own peril.
Exactly, and right. I think appropriately they started with a title which clearly didn't have its full title yet because it just says Digger. I'm like, what is Digger? And you search for it, like, oh, it's actually called Digger T Rock. Did they just not know the full name yet? That's how much effort was put into this. It feels.
Well, that's there's a whole there's a lot to talk about here for sure. At the beginning here, that first one you mentioned, Digger. There's 4 other titles. They have tiny paragraph blurbs about these, but the meat of this is a full page chart of titles that also lists their publisher, play situation, and that's like 1, 2, 3, 4 players, simultaneous or controller pass, battery save, password save, yada, yada, yada. Their power meter score, which is divided up into the 4 categories, and the game type genre. And the shit of this is it completely replaces the power meter graphics being present anywhere in the mag. So I really hate that change, that they're not like this visual representation in the game review now. So that sucks to me. But I do like the change of the numbers. So instead of meters, this analog meter thing, they are now these 1 decimal number integers, and it's spread across the 4 categories: graphics and sound, challenge, play control, theme, and fun. So this means there's nowhere for kids to color in their own rankings next to the mags,
right?
Which is really sucks city. I think that's a real shit thing to take away, on top of just the cool visual being removed. Got to get that book we first saw at the back of the Super Mario Bros. 3 strategy guide, I guess, the Gamekeeper info file, where you can write in your own shit. So I guess maybe these hand-in-hand decisions, like I like the idea that they're like, okay, we're taking this feature, in quotation marks, away from our readers, but we must present them with an alternative with which to engage our games in this way, So I would love the idea that maybe that fueled the creation of that particular mail-in thing. So all the games they featured already are in here too, at least. So all the data is being aggregated here, and we can talk about those numbers of the games we've seen, just to get that out of the way. Solar Jetman gets a 73% aggregate, with the underlying numbers being 3.9, 3.2, 3.7, 3.8. So they're knocking challenge only, really, I would say, and that is fucking crazy to me, because that is a very difficult game. So that. I don't know how much I buy into that, but otherwise they give it 3.9 on graphics and sound, 3.7. What is that, theme? What are the different categories? You got
Graphics, sound, challenge, play control is the third one.
Right, play control, and then
theme
and fun. So all the other ones are nearly 4s, so that's pretty damn good. Dr. Mario is somewhat humblingly given a 74.5%. Chief contributing factor there being the lowball graphics and sound at 3.3. And sure, it's just a static screen because of the genre, but I think it all looks fucking great. What's there, So, I don't know. The music and effects are phenomenal. As I said, when we first saw it back on the preview thing, that second gameplay track, Chill, I think is the music name, is a top 5 slapper on the system, in my opinion. So, the music's fucking great. 3.6 challenge, 4.1 play control, 3.9 theme and fun. I think the challenge and fun are low as well, in my opinion. But whatever. And then Castlevania 3 gets an 83% with a 4.2, 4.1, 4.2, 4.1.
Impressive
score ratio, yes. And the plot thickens here as this is a tad lower than the 86.25% I interpreted them giving it on a power meter a couple issues back, a preview or something akin to. So
maybe
it's not
I
a
got
huge
more information.
Right. Well, I guess that's one argument, but yes, it's not a huge difference either. And there is some margin of error, of course, due to me interpreting those bar graphs for numbers prior to this. But I will have my eye on whether numbers stay consistent through multiple appearances happening again moving forward. Whatever the 80+% figure is, they're putting the data on record saying it's a fire game for sure at that cumulative number. And there are 35 titles in total in this chart, so we're not going to go through all of them, but I figure we can start tackling these by going over the games that score 80 pluses or are condemned with sub 50 scores. And on the praiseworthy side, we have the aforementioned Castlevania 3, then Sunsoft's October release of Gremlins 2 got an 80.5%, and they dropped this back in October for Halloween, so it is fair game. And you know that soundtrack is fire, being Sunsoft. Hence, you are already using one of their tracks, and I will drop another one of them here, the Stage 3 theme. And then a big feature is coming up in the next issue or two, so I vote we hold off on game app consideration until after we hit that, but it is fair game.
Definitely a Sunsoft game with Uncle Fester vibes. Like, I could get into it. I was like,
yeah,
okay,
I think it's better than Uncle Fester.
I mean, we'll see,
Yeah.
but it definitely gave those vibes.
Yeah,
I was.
It's Sunsoft. Sunsoft doesn't
surprised.
Yeah, that does not fuck around. Yeah, it feels good, especially for a top down. Like, there's platform. It's like it's got a Dino Ricky vibes.
Kind of, yeah.
And like that top-down platforming stuff, but it's executed.
Which I'm good with. So
yeah, well, it executes it infinitely better than Dino Ricky did. And then ISOH Game App alum Little Nemo from Capcom got an even 80%. That is in line with our interpretation of the game. And more Capcom love goes to Mega Man 3, who got the best score of the mag with an 84.5%. And that dropped in November, so it is quietly fair game as well. Now let's fling some shit at schlock developers. We have Mindscape's Conan, described as barbarian action in the genre column.
Barbarian action.
I enjoyed that. Got a pretty shitty 42%. And this isn't released until 91 as Conan, The Mysteries of Time, and isn't really a Conan game. It's a port of a PC game called Myth, History in the Making, with Conan hurriedly stuffed in as a protagonist. As like a reskin kind of idea. Yeah, it's terrible. And it's Mindscape, and they have a habit of releasing other studio feature film adaptations around this time, too. They have a Dirty Harry game and a Days of Thunder game that also have shit scores in here.
I was about to say, neither of which I have remotely been interested in.
Okay.
Did you
even try them?
No, absolutely. No? Like, that Conan game? No.
Well, Conan's not out, so I didn't fire that up. But the other two were fair games, so I tried them. Days of Thunder.
Harry? No. Well, in terms of Dirty Harry, no chance. Like, as a franchise, as a character of like, hey, do you know what Dirty Harry is? I'm like, yeah, pass. I've seen it, like not in this magazine, but like just in general around the time.
It's like Dick Tracy. It's like yes, my dad digs that shit. I'm alright.
Exactly. I'm good, homie. We'll pass.
Yeah. I like Clint Eastwood, but I don't need that character or whatever. And the movie, whatever. The movies are, if you want like old feeling popcorn movies, that they're not bad, I suppose. But yeah, it's a video game. Yeah, I tried both, and I mean, Days of Thunder might have some merit if NASCAR racing is your bag. Like it's got that terrible, which a lot of racing games, we've played other ones too that have this, where you start the game and you have to do qualifying before you can even really race other people. And it's like just boringly going around in circles trying to get a good time. And it's like terrible, terrible, terrible way to try to get a player invested, I understand the simulation component of it, and that's how it works. And I guess maybe, again, you are a NASCAR fan, you're fine with that. But anyone else is going to be like, this fucking sucks as a way to start the game, No.
And I played it back in the day, and it was like a no. There are a few games that are racing games that stick out in my mind for a good, and this is definitely not one of them.
Yeah. I can't think of any pre-existing. I feel like maybe I played it, the Days of Thunder, but definitely not Dirty Harry. But yeah, I did fire Dirty Harry up as well, and this is peak dog shit NES action platforming. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad. So these scores are very justified. And then we have INTVs, which is in television, basically, has a game called Monster Truck Rally. They got a piss poor 45%, but also doesn't come out till 91 September. And the scores for this game around the interwebs are quite glowing, actually. So I think we are seeing a trend here of developers sending unfinished games to Nintendo. This is what you just talked about with Digger, getting slapped in the face by these scores, then going back to the drawing board before putting the game out, which to me is really cool and good, but interesting. And then a publisher called High Tech Expressions has two titles that both got 48.5%, but did not take that feedback to heart and slung their shit game out this year anyhow. And these are a port of a PC game called Muppet Adventure, Chaos at the Carnival. This is as in Jim Henson's Muppets. And I fired this up, and holy shit, is it bad? It's 4 mini games that felt like number munchers, dude. Like 5.25 floppy disk number munchers in grade school computer lab. But shittier.
You can't bring out number munchers and do a worse version of it. Just throw the Muppets in there. Don't disrespect the Muppets like that. Right. Man. Come on.
Yeah, terrible, terrible, terrible. And the other one is called Orb 3D. And this is it's interesting. It's still terrible, I think, but it's interesting. It came with pack-in 3D glasses, hence the 3D in the name. And they're not essential to play. So you can play without them, and I was able to play the game in emulation without them, of course. But supposedly did enhance the experience and make it feel quasi 3D. And I think it's maybe the last NES game to try this gimmick. We've seen this a little bit early on. This is a thing Nintendo. Sega tried it too with the Master System. Rad Racer was probably the big one on NES that came with glasses and had a feature. I think you hit select or start or something and turn the feature on in the game. So it also allowed you to play without them, thankfully. But yeah, I tried this one, and it's kind of weird, but a semi-intriguing puzzler, I think. And I can see how the 3D vibes would make it visually more interesting. You hit your cursor on the puzzle's playing field is a spaceship that flies in this pattern that simulates flying at and away from the player POV as it circles what you're highlighting, So if it was in 3D, it would be basically flying out of the screen at you as it does this, and that would be kind of cool, I guess. But it's just no chance. No chance of being a fully formed game. It's almost like a phone game, that you play for 10 seconds on the shitter or something.
Yeah, that's a big time no. Big time no.
So other release notables that are new for us in here, maybe the wildest discovery for me was this Destiny of the Emperor game from Capcom. Also, it's Capcom, so you should be good, but I'd never heard of it. And this was
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you had played this?
I definitely have heard of this game. This is go ahead.
Okay. Well, this was it was released in May of '89, so it'd been out for quite some time at this point. And this is a full-blown RPG that, never heard of and seems to be very well regarded, dude. It's, I don't know, kind of those words all being true about it. Capcom, RPG, full-blown, well-regarded, kind of blows my barn doors off that I've never heard of it.
Yeah, when I play this, it looks like it could be a solid game. It looks like you're picking up a Final Fantasy or a Dragon Warrior 2 with like,
right.
But like the graphics are good, like the movement seems kind of smooth. I'm like,
it's fucking Capcom. It's Capcom.
Yeah, man. I could get into this, but I'm not investing the time in this. But I really like if I had the time and this was like, hey, you got to play this game. I feel like I could really get into it.
Yes, I was so floored that I was like, everything was presented so well in the beginning that I was like, I was hung with it, 10 minutes or something. But like I hung with it enough to like get a feel for it. So this is the game setting is Chinese Three Kingdoms era, and your party is made up of 5 military officers. And instead of HP being your primary health metric for these characters that you control, each officer leads a number of soldiers as an army that are at risk in battle. And the enemies you encounter in the game, like random battles, just like you would any other JRPG at the time, Dragon Warrior or Final Fantasy, the like. But in the battles, you're the officer just putting at stake and implementing your armies against the armies of these opposing, and like parties of armies, like groups of armies. So it's like large scale warfare, a representation of that, And the battles play out just like in Final Fantasy. Like one hero sprite attacks one enemy sprite at a time, and you got to like put so much more into it than just flip it on and play to understand, invest, and properly engage this game. But I immediately saw that it was like wildly unique.
Oh yeah.
And enough polish on it to be able to survive the startup costs probably that you're going to experience playing it, So yeah, I put it on our fucking side quest to be quested list to at least be talked about, because there's a lot going on for sure.
Yeah, this is a game I've heard a lot over the years. Like as a kid, like I knew I saw it, but again, it wasn't my type of jam, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not why I'm playing games. But now looking at it, I'm like, okay, if I had the time to invest and really care to, like, I'm sure it would be a good experience.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, that again, just like, what do you mean this has been out for a year? Yeah, how's this been out? Well, a year plus it's been out. Yeah, crazy as fuck.
Well, in that year, we've been playing other RPGs. So
we have, sure, but I mean, no mention of it. Capcom didn't send over a memo at all. You didn't get a preview, nothing. It's not like it's fucking, some sort of fly-by-night publisher. Like, it's fucking Capcom. Like,
well, they were busy promoting DuckTales and all the other hotness, like much Batman, much bigger titles. So this was kind of
But there's a limit to the number of games they can put out a year, so every one of them matters, Like, I find it, I don't give a shit. Like, yes, you're spending more time on DuckTales, maybe, but
yeah, you have a fixed marketing budget though. Like in that time frame, you got to put the dollars where you really expect the biggest returns. And I would say at that time, that market for people who not only like RPGs on the NES, but also would care about that time frame of RPGs together. When you have Dragon Warrior, the other games, it's like, they're kind of taking a bet, hoping this works, kind of a thing. That's the way I would look at this.
Yeah, but then why even put it out? I don't know. Yeah, there's either way. Like, that's a fine justification. I hear all that, but then why even put it out? Yeah, it's an interesting situation.
You never know which game's going to hit. You never know which game's going to hit,
I guess. Milton Bradley has another rare collaboration that hit in December. And yes, this is the Digger T Rock game you mentioned. And it's got a surname as well, The Legend of the Lost City. And it is an action platformer puzzler that has a little bit of inventory management and relies on your character's ability to dig through certain parts of the cavern play environment to collect treasure and advance. And you're shaking your head. Did you play this?
Yeah, it's an interesting little game. If it was rented for me, I would make the best of it. But it has like that older gen, almost Atari kind of feel. Like it feels a little clunky to me. Like, again, like I said, if mom rented it for me, I got this for 3 days. I'm going to make the best of it and try to figure out. But like right now, it just feels a little clunky to like try to get into.
Yeah, it's by no means perfect and
not bad.
Not some sort of masterpiece. I fired it up though, expecting that name to me reads, it's exactly like the other digging game that I immediately compared it to my mind before I even turned it on. What the fuck was that game called? What the hell was it called? We both said the same thing. We turned on. We were like, I can't believe this is good. There's ads for it in GamePro from some shitty bullshit publisher. Like, I can't remember what it was. But it's also digging is like the main mechanic in it. puzzle game. But yeah, I mean, it looks good. It sounds good because Rare, so of course the music is going to be good. And plays pretty well. The digging mechanic felt pretty good. And yeah, I mean, I expected that it would kind of dig up a little bit of Captain Skyhawk non-flashbacks for you. It kind of has that, like, the lower end, like, most of the stuff Rare makes is good. Almost all of it. But there is certainly a gradient to their good. And this is on the lower end of, by Rare standards, good, I think. So yeah, I was immediately drawing parallels in my mind, to those two games. So I was curious whether you were going to mention that game or not. But yeah, it's unexpected to be at all playable, and it was certainly that.
Yeah.
They bestowed Dragon Warrior 2 a 74%, and I guess that's roundabouts fair.
I mean, the fun they give fun 4, so I get that.
Right.
That's solid.
Yeah, they always they've done this with the other RPG. I feel Final Fantasy got kind of the same treatment where they don't grade. It's like they're doing with Dr. Mario. Like, they don't grade. They grade the graphics not in a vacuum. They grade the graphics against the full playing field and limit it because it's maybe not trying to do as much as an action game. And I don't think that is a fair basis by which to judge.
I would push back and say I think that is fair, because if you're like a mom trying to get the game, or you're like a kid, you're just looking at it. Like, if you're not, at this point, I'm not looking at genres. If I'm 10, 11, I'm not looking at genre like, I want that genre. It's more like, is this game fun? And if I look at it and the colors are great, vibrant, graphics are fantastic. Like, at the time, we still cared about bits. Oh, 18-bit, you're not 18, 8-bit, 16-bit. So, like, that stuff mattered. So I get that. Like, if you might look at a certain game like, this doesn't look as great. Even if you don't understand. Yeah, if you don't really understand how the scale of an RPG and what they're trying to do and pack into the cart,
Yeah,
all potentially unfair.
It's certainly all subjective. There are arguments to be made for both sides for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We have TMNT 2 arcade game in here. It's peeking its head up for the first time, and it got a 77%, which maybe seems a little low to me.
Definitely seems low. They're slacking on that one.
The couch co-op potential for this banger is off the charts, obviously, so plenty to talk about there as far as game app stuff goes.
Yeah.
Mindscape has a lot of no-effort schlock on this list, but there's a port of a PC game going as far back as 83 in here, dude. And this is Mule. M-U-L-E, the acronym. And it is a wild-ass turn-based strategy game that... I mean, if you're not playing with a fucking NES controller anyways, if you're playing it on a computer like it's supposed to be, and maybe you have a mouse, it's probably kind of fucking interesting. You are one of a number of alien races that are trying to colonize a new planet with and they do this in quotation, so-called, this is the game copywriter speaking, so-called help of robotic mules, as in donkeys, mules. And I played it for like, 5 minutes. It's fucking insane, dude. You're like, you go to these arenas, you're on this, it's kind of like a strategy resort. Like, you're trying to fucking command and conquer kind of thing. You're like dealing with the other alien races and trying to beat them at colonizing this planet. It's fucking weird as fuck, dude. And I cannot believe they ported it to the NES. I mean, I guess everything got ported to the NES, so that's why, but a very out there concept for an
it looks
NES
so
for
basic
sure.
and weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Well, it's 83.
Yeah,
dude,
that's what I mean. I'm like, what? Like, if this game was running for me, I'd be like, Mom, we need to talk about this game selection.
It's what, I don't know, look at the there's something about it. Like, it's a title that I've seen a bunch. Like, and it stands out because it's an acronym, so it's all capitals, so that inherently makes it stand out, So, like, I've seen this a million times, and, like, I don't know what I thought I was going to see when I turned it on, but it wasn't fucking this. It just wasn't fucking this. I don't know. It was wild to me. So that was an interesting new one here. And we have one more from Capcom, Yonoid, that hit in November.
Yonoid!
Yeah, this is a really fun and interesting thing to talk about for sure. It's centered around the Domino's Pizza commercial mascot from the 80s, named Noid. I will drop one of the commercials in here.
Have you ever been frustrated because the Noid ruined your pizza? The Noid loves to ruin pizza. Whole Domino's pizza. We avoid the Noid. We keep the Noid out and all this quality in. Taste the quality. Domino's Pizza delivers in less than 30 minutes.
And going back and watching some of these commercials, did you take the time to do this, Jay? Did you this send you down a YouTube hole at all?
No, I loved, I remembered. I mean, I did, yes. The first time I saw it, I definitely watched the Yo Noid commercial again for sure.
They have whole. I keep surprised by how many of them there were. There are whole compilation stuff that you can watch. I'll drop links to those in the show notes. But I would call him kind of, which I didn't remember this I didn't remember this story world of him. He's kind of like a Wile E. Coyote character. He's the antagonist, Mm-hmm. He's a likable antagonist, and he has bad intentions, but he always is thwarted, and as a result, you have sympathy for him that kind of endears you to him, So in this case, the Noid is always trying to keep Domino's pies from showing up inside the 30-minute delivery guarantee, after which they would be cold, right? So he rides a vehicle called the Pizza Crusher, which causes all your, if you crush the pizza boxes, all your cheese and toppings will be stuck to the inside of the pizza box, and that's also a taboo pizza delivery thing, So it's pretty creative, I think, as far as marketing shit goes, and because it's essentially a commercial, this game should suck. It's shameless product marketing, but
it absolutely does not.
Right, but it's Capcom,
fire,
so it doesn't suck. Yes. It's as sure as the sun rises. Those things worked out here, and it's a whole hell of a lot better than any action platformer featuring a fucking pizza mascot should be.
This game is great. I loved this game as a kid. I played so much of this. I don't know if I didn't own it, so I don't know at what capacity I got to play so much of it. Maybe we rented it for a longer amount of time. Maybe I got it from a flea market or something. I don't know. But this game, I love it. I can't say enough about it. Because of this game, I was willing to give other games that turned out to be terrible, like the Spot game, the 7-Up or whatever it was later, which were actually terrible. But this game, criminally underrated at 3.1 for fun. I would give this a 4.5 because it was a blast, and I will fight anybody that feels differently.
It feels good, it looks good, it sounds good. I don't think it's not elite or anything. It's not like fucking Finding Little Nemo, I don't think. But it is, I hadn't ever fucked with it, and I fired it up, and I played the whole first level, and I was like, yep, that's fucking good Capcom action platformer for sure,
I don't think I ever beat it, but I got so far into it. So far.
Yeah, I didn't, you have an adversary, another pizza dude that's I didn't know that existed. So they further developed the story world. Yeah, there's just a lot going on. Yeah. Next, coming out of that Now Playing stuff, finally, is a spread letting us know about the next strategy guide that's coming down the pipe in December. It's called the 4-Player Extra, and this will feature 13 titles that embrace the simultaneous 4-player action that the NES Satellite and 4-Score peripherals enable. And the games we have here are Super Spike V-Ball, NES Play Action Football, Nintendo World Cup Soccer, Super Off-Road, Gauntlet 2, Swords and Serpents, Kings of the Beach, A Nightmare on Elm Street, World Bowling, Magic Johnson's Fast Break, fuck that game, Spot, Top Player Tennis. Too. And then Mule, which again, also I didn't mention that when I was talking about how weird of a game. It's a 4-player simultaneous game. What? And honestly, that even further, again, you sit 4 people, 4 friends in a room together playing that game. Especially because it's turn-based and shit, it can kind of be a party game probably that's maybe a little bit interesting to play, because it is strategy-based and you don't have to, it doesn't require full focus because of the turn-based component of it, I can see there being a very niche appeal to that. Funny. Certainly didn't have access to it as a kid, or 3 friends that would have done it. So just even outside of that, of course, there's definitely some heat in here, and plenty I'd be down with tackling in a game app, particularly some of the new release titles at this time. NES Play Action, of course, we've talked about that a great deal. Gauntlet 2 and World Cup Soccer, and I fired up Gauntlet 2 just to kind of refresh myself, and this is a Mindscape which we just talked a bunch of shit about with Days of Thunder and Dirty Harry. And then an Atari collaboration. So Atari developed this game, so maybe that's part of it. They actually got a good developer, even though Mindscape is releasing it. I didn't expect to enjoy it much beyond
Gauntlet 2?
Yeah, the fire. Well, the first one's not very good on the NES.
True.
It's pretty bad and very monotonous, I feel. The title screen music is fire, and that's why it's in our fucking opening sequence music. But I ended up getting completely sucked into it. I played a few levels before ejecting just because I didn't want to sit and play Gauntlet 2 all day. But I played it long enough, and it's so much better feeling than the first one that I think playing this in a group would be an absolute fucking blast. Like,
let me tell you about that. So it's deceptive when you think about Gauntlet 1, if you play Gauntlet 1, to just as you said, to play Gauntlet 2. Because for a minute, when the first time we came across Gauntlet 1 in an issue, and I picked it up thinking of Gauntlet 2, and I was immediately like, oh, this game sucks, man. But Gauntlet 2, I played it with Jesse a ton as a kid. Like, I feel like I played this with multiple people, and I don't know, because I didn't have the advantage, or the 4-player thing to play 4 players. So I don't remember how I would have played it with multiple, but I played so much of this game. Definitely didn't beat it. But like,
well, it's got like 100 levels or something. Yeah,
this game is great though, man. Yeah. Gauntlet 2 is a great game. I would say this is the type of game I would prefer to only play 2-player. Like I played it I picked it up for
way more fun. Yeah, way more fun.
And played it 1-player, but like it's almost like I'd rather this to be a 2-player side quest. Like, all right, where are we picking back up and let's go together, because it's just really well done, especially when you think about the contrast to the first one, which is like meh. The second one, it's pretty hotness.
Clearly not side quest wouldn't work. There's no fucking story to be had there. But as just a multiplayer, I would be down for kill quest in this simultaneously for sure. Maybe even try to get Jab involved. Like, so we've talked so much about that. And that embraces even, we talked about, I don't know which one was that, Tombs and Treasure, Swords and Serpents. Swords and Serpents is 4 players here, so that's probably what it is. We talked about doing that as a side quest with like one of the disciples. But that Gauntlet is clearly much easier of a way of doing that, and I remember Jab and I running this for sure, and I think I'm almost sure its inclusion in this 4-player guide and like having that to reference and get through the levels and shit. I was shocked at how much fun I was having for sure. So I would be 100% down to game app and or kill quest that as a group, or maybe just game app it and then do that as our instead of our couch co-op of just us, just do that with as many people as we can get on board to do it with. That's a super easy integration thing too. Yeah, very good. I was shocked at how much I enjoyed it. They have a little blurb in the top right corner of the spread letting us know that since Nintendo Power is now a full-fledged monthly mag, it's time to kiss these strategy guides goodbye. Oh, no. Yes, RIP. RIP strategy guides. But don't worry, you can still order them as back issues, Jay. Don't fret. NES Achiever is up next, and one thing of note about the feature this time around is I would say at least half, probably the majority of entries here do not have scores. They are just finished designations, and I think high scores have been more the idea for this feature historically, and I really like the idea of it just being more of a hall of honor for kids beating games than I do like comparison scores, which, I've already said.
Goes out the window about this time anyway.
Right.
Like in the earlier gen, you're like, oh, what's my high score? But at this point, you're just excited you beat said game.
Right, yeah, and I love just a place to celebrate that is cool,
Yeah.
They have added a best practices guide for getting a good Game Boy screenshot to supplement the usual suggestions for capturing NES Hall of Fame submissions, and that is pretty fun too. Just as the NES flowchart does, it paints a painfully good picture in my mind of a small child trying to work through this flowchart and get it right and failing numerous times, There are plenty of Ohio homies in here that are seeking 8-bit immortality, including some epic, obscure Ohio geography opportunities. We have one Bart Ameling, hailing from Gibbonsburg, wanting us to know he's finished Astyanax. We have Lee Hickman and Wapakoneta finishing Rescue Rangers. Lech Kazorski and Inklid took down Bowser in Super Mario Bros. 3. Eric McGraw and Huron beat Tecmo World Wrestling. And lastly, Mike Winzenik in Canton has the 5th highest Tetris score. And I wonder if Grosenbaugh knows him. Being that he's from
That's
Canada.
okay.
Should text him and should call Grosenbaugh right now on the thing on recording and ask him if he knows Mike Wodnecek.
That's funny.
That's one of our college fraternity brothers. I guess we don't talk about him enough for that just to be canon.
Like, who are we
ISOH
talking
canon,
about?
yeah. It's specifically Jay's little. What's
little brother.
Little brother.
Yeah, fraternity little brother.
Fraternity little brother. I guess I was trying to think. Is there like a better way to convey? Yeah, but there was no other terminology. Just little brother. It's like a mentor. I guess is a better way to put it to someone not in a fraternity. Yeah, so Huron and Canton are not nearly obscure enough, of course, and Inklet is just a typo of Euclid, I think. Mm-hmm. But, and that's too big for obscurity as well. But Gibsonburg and Wapakoneta are darling examples of what we look for in our obscure Ohio geography lessons. And as always, listeners, these segments of the podcast are graciously brought to us through the support of your mom. And Wapakoneta is the no-brainer option of these two, in my opinion. Where is Wapakoneta located, Jay?
No idea, but I'm guessing it's, I'm going to say northeast somewhere.
Northeast
Of Columbus, rather.
Okay.
Definitely northern Ohio somewhere. Definitely.
Okay.
I'd be shocked if it's southern Ohio.
I guess it's pretty central. I guess if I recall correctly, looking at the map, I think it might technically be in the northern half, but it's pretty central, I would say. It's between Dayton and Lima on I-75, so pretty extreme western. It's much closer to Lima than Dayton. So yes, that definitely on the north side. The population at the time of the 2020 census is 9,957, so pretty damn small. And there's a handful of semi-accomplished people from here, but easily the most notable thing about Wapakoneta is Neil Armstrong, the first man to step foot on the moon, hails from this place. And
I was going to say that name sounds familiar, but I don't know why. Like I couldn't tell you where it is. Like it just. Those Indian names are much more northern, but like that's
true. That is a very contextual clue to implement into your decision making there. Because that is true. Oh no, actually, I don't know how true that because there's a lot of down by Miami and Cincinnati. There's a lot of because that's Miami, Ohio. Is the Miami River, the Miami Indians. You know, so
I guess I just think Cuyahoga like a lot of I mean, they're everywhere in Ohio. Really.
Yeah. Not really the whole country. That's the whole thing. That's the whole catch about the whole problem, I think. But how riveting his formative years must have been growing up in Wapakoneta. As a result, they do have an Air and Space Museum and an airport. I highly doubt either would be the case had Armstrong been birthed anywhere else on the entire planet. I don't think they would have an airport or a museum highlighting air and space accomplishments.
Fair.
So pretty fun fact about Wapakoneta, Ohio. And again, that was brought to us by your mom. Pack Watch next, and by future of NES game packs, they actually mean, in the case of many of these titles, the now of NES game packs. And Deja Vu from Kimco Seika is the first thing here, and this dropped in December. This is a crime mystery noir thriller concept in the exact same style and UI as Shadowgate, so as you'd expect, I have very fond memories of it. It was a game I rented off a feature that I believe is in the next issue of Nintendo Power. Looking forward to that. And even with that partial walkthrough, I was completely stumped by this game. I did not beat it. So, that's testament to complexity. Because I had beaten Shadowgate at this time, so it's not just stupid kid shit. I can get through those games at this time. But that one was a little more opaque to me. But the storytelling is absolute aces and very adult themed. Maybe that was part of it. Shadowgate is this kind of fantasy medieval stuff that maybe a kid can wrap their mind around a little easier. This is noir crime, so there's like drugs and like you got to understand how drugs could affect a human being, and there's like all this shit in there.
At 10-11, I am not catching all that.
Right. So that I'm sure that could have been part of it. I'm sure it would be much more traversable as a old ass man. But either way, I was totally entranced by this as a kid, and, as I've always said about Shadowgate, the UI is tough sledding as a modern player, but I'd love to find a way to really dive into these games together for the pod. Beyond, I ended up I've totally forgotten I had done it, actually, but when I was uploading to YouTube my Kill Quest videos for the Willow thing, I remembered that I had done a Kill Quest of Shadowgate that's on there, a 3-episode run through I did of that, so I did find a way to work it in one way or another. But I highly recommend you embrace those and try to check them out. I know it's tough, but they are such good games, even if we never get to them as game episodes or anything. A whole page of indulgence in Capcom's Mega Man 3 comes after that, and hold for that cover feature next issue, Jay. Hold! I know you don't want to do it, but hold! They have some hot news about the Simpsons game Acclaim is cooking up via the Kitchen Boys and Absolute Entertainment, and not even named as such yet, but this is the Bart versus Space Mutants they're talking about here. And it's too bad all of those games suck, as much as I love those Kitchen Boys. A long-minded page follows that with both long-form games and a long-view outlook into or on 1991. We have first Earthbound here, which this was released in Japan as Mother. And this is teased here as a Fall 91 drop, and this is a pretty big deal, because this is an in-house developed RPG franchise that is revered as being phenomenal. Potentially even the greatest RPG ever, Jay.
What?
And
I've not heard that.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. This, I think the one on the Super Nintendo, and that gets ported to the SNES in 94. I think that might be the one that's considered the greatest JRPG
That makes sense.
by some people's standards as ever. But yes, this first installment never makes its way stateside, so this is a false claim.
Oh, I was
which
going to
is-
say, I'm like, Earthbound, yeah, that's a game. But
Yeah, yeah, it's tragically did not happen. And this game has such a fan base that there are oodles of translations that amount to what is considered by some, yes, the best RPG of the 8-bit era as well, even though it's not an official release, I think. Let me read the description of this because it's worth covering the story world and such. Set in the modern world, baseball bats and psychic PSI powers take the place of swords and sorcery. The main character, a kid with latent PSI talents, searches for the truth behind the legend about a mysterious ancestor. Many things will hinder the lad's quest, including poltergeists, giant rats, and crazy hippies. Earthbound, which was released as Mother in Japan, returns, features a giant world to explore and tons of puzzles to solve, all with a touch of humor. So I think a good comp that we are familiar with is Star Tropics. I think this is kind of, which maybe is why, it could very well be why, because Star Tropics was an NES, or rather US exclusive release, you know what I mean? So it's very possible that they saw too much overlap to bother with this Earthbound shit because they had Star Tropics cooking here, you know, which makes a lot of sense to me, I suppose. But unfortunate nonetheless. We can't get enough of these great RPGs.
But I mean, I love the Star Tropics here because that is, you know, that makes a lot of sense that like it was promoted so much. That's why I will continue to talk about it until I get to play through that game.
Yep. Although it's got that action component going on, like I said, but there is so much. There is still like an overworld. There's enough traditional JPRG slowdown, I guess, maybe that I fear that less than I spoke about for Willow 2, I would say. But I added this one to our RPG side quest as well because we can get the translation, of course, and play it. And I think that would be really fun and interesting. There's probably not a lot of coverage of that out there being an unofficial release, you know. So we'd be, I can't think of the not forefathers. I can't think of the fucking word. We blazing our own trailer, blazing a new trailer, whatever. Forerunners. I can't think of the word, but. It would be probably a good thing to cover, a fun thing to cover. An NES port of the original SimCity is next, which sadly also never gets a release in the US, or maybe at all, actually. I don't think it hit in Japan either. It would thankfully be a banger of a launch title for the SNES, though, and that I actually consider that my favorite version of the original SimCity. There is a prototype version of the NES version floating around the internets, though, if you're so inclined to take a look at this. I have seen that before. So they did get to prototype stage on this. And then Star Tropics is the last game in here, and we just talked about that. But they're saying they jumped the gun, or jumped the shark, when previewing it in the May-June issue because it's looking more like it will be an early 91 release. Which is not true, because it does drop in December. We have looked that up. So it's officially fair game for side questing, even though they're saying it's not here. And yeah, I know you're fired up about that one. So we are nearing, well, I guess we'll talk about that at the end. That'll be one of the things we'll try to get into in the debate. Let's talk about our side questing plans. They wind this page up with the smallest of hype blurbs about the Super Famicom having lit scrolling backgrounds and stereo sound. So, yeah, of course we know the SNES is cool. And then a full page titled Weird Heroes features 4 titles with characters they describe as having a chance to break into the show. And by that, they mean establish themselves in the big leagues, such as Mario, Link, Mega Man, Simon Belmont have. And they were wrong. None of these.
Yeah,
actually.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
nice try, but
Yeah.
no.
The blurb never. And here's the funny. This is hilarious to me, dude. Just like a magazine layout editing choice, but the blurb never once mentions either ninja's name, which I feel is just the shittiest job possible of executing what the stated theme of this feature is. The stated theme is talking about establishing the heroes as iconic, and they do a feature on fucking a great game, Shadow of the Ninja, but don't even mention their names, which is just terrible to me.
Hey, this is back to the magazine stuff. We know the less effort comes in.
That's true. I guess that's possible. But they also present the other games. They also present our Data East Werewolf, which we talked about a few episodes back. I remember being in Atlanta when we were talking about that, and the Asmix Conquest of the Silver Palace. And the latter one does have all three of these don't have names in them except for that latter one, like character names. I mean, and the names on that are Farron and his dog Zap, and we talked about that game in Atlanta too. I remember because that's the one I was like, it's got a dog, that's fucking cool. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. Like both of them fell into the category of there's kind of interesting shit going on here, but I don't know if there's enough to sit down and actually play through. So whatever. But there's one new game that we have not talked about, and it is Human Entertainment developed HAL published Kabuki Quantum Fighter, released in December. Let me actually read the description on this one too, because it's help paint the world what it is. Are you into exotic weaponry but bored with super lasers, bionic assault rifles, and nuclear hand grenades? Then try Kabuki Quantum Fighter from HAL. The hero of this action game, we called him Kabuki Man, knows how to, which is a terrible name. Even when they mentioned it, it's still terrible. But knows how to kick some tail as well as the best of them. But in Grand Kabuki style, he uses his hair to attack enemies. And they are sure to include some comic style exclamation, question mark, exclamation in there to emphasize that. And then Kabuki Quantum Fighter is weird and wild with great graphics and animation. And okay, did you try this game?
I did.
Okay. No? It's like Shadow of the Ninja to me. I was like, holy fucking shit, this game's incredible.
I definitely did not feel that way. This, to me, feels like a run-of-the-mill rental store platformer.
Oh, man.
Swapping between, like, a gun and his hair or, like, a ninja star. I don't even know what that is. And the
I don't think I even got to using any other items, and I was still impressed.
What? All you have to do is, like, hit the... I can't remember which button, like, switches the hair thing.
Like,
yeah, it's cool. You can jump and, like, hang on to stuff. Again... rental store platformer. If I get it, I'm gonna play it and figure it out. But like, not really standing out enough to me to like want to play it more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was a lot going on. I fired it up. The title prologue slideshow is like 3 minutes of story. It's set in 2056.
It was a lot. Yeah, a lot of story.
Yeah, it's set in 2056 and hinges on the fact that someone or something has hacked into the fucking mainframe. So I'm listening. And the stage start cinematic is a bunch of random computer code flying by, bottom to top, before the protagonist appears superimposed on top of it, just doing ninja shit, which is a really cool like stage introduction cutscene, I think. And then the gameplay fires up, and yeah, I'm immediately getting Shadow of the Ninja vibes. Like
fair
graphics, music, play control, everything. You mentioned the hanging from shit, that was in there, and it felt good to me to be doing so. And the hair whipping attack is, I don't know. I read that and I was like, that is gonna suck for sure. But I was actually,
it's just like a melee, like your extended melee.
Right? Yeah, I thought
it's not bad. It's not a bad attack.
I thought it felt pretty fucking good. The whole point is you're collecting microchips. Someone hacked into the fucking mainframe. I mean, let's fucking go, dude. I don't know. Yeah, it's just like Shadow of the Ninja. How have I never heard of this? Is what I was thinking to myself. Yeah,
I think I might have played this back in the day too. Actually, like
really, I'd never even heard that name before. Like the critics' scores are high as fuck on it. Human Entertainment is the developer of Game App alum Monster Party. I don't know if you made that connection or not.
Oh yeah,
one of your early ones. Which I mean that surprised me too because that game was it was interesting, but it was kind of trash as far as the actual gameplay execution goes.
Yeah.
But to me, this was 100% Game App material in my mind. Huh. I thought you were going to, because that was definitely the same thing. When Shadow of the Ninja popped up and we first were talking about it in whatever magazine episode that was, like I said, I was like, so a psychological study, like looking to see your face, like how, is he going to get as excited as I'm about to get? I'm kind of shocked that you didn't.
It's okay. Again, not bad, but okay.
Okay. A page of sports-related Pack Watch comes after that. A few soccer games are here, the now-out Nintendo World Cup, and a couple others that never get released, Euro Cup Soccer, World Trophy Soccer. We have Mike Ditka Football here, which is never released, and then Wayne Gretzky Hockey hits in 91, so that's not out yet. And then lastly is some shit that shouldn't be in the sports section, but is nonetheless interesting, a November-released WWF joint called WrestleMania Challenge. And this is a rare-developed LJN released. And since Acclaim is acquiring LJN around this time, that means it's basically the same team that did the first WWF WrestleMania game the year prior. And this one has a little bit of a different view. It's like not isometric, but it is kind of like the ring is diagonal. Yeah. I guess it is kind of isometric as well. But I would say, I mean, it's better on the for the most part. Like it makes that view makes the outside of the ring more meaningful, you know? And I think that's a huge part of a wrestling game, of like this kind of wrestling game anyways, working. Being able to fight outside the ring and use fucking tools and shit. So there are more wrestlers this time, including the Ultimate Warrior, who gets featured in some slick title screen pixel art that I really like. And you don't have to pick a big-time wrestler either. You can play as a dude labeled yourself. Matt Gould pointed this out when I posted shit from this. This is a really quirky thing, I think. But it's basically the guy that would get wrecked in the opening match of the Saturday morning broadcasts of this shit, if you recall. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually became the 1-2-3 Kid.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, you can also do tag team matches. And there's a Survivor Series mode against 3 other wrestlers where... You know, you go in and then you throw the one out, and then another one comes in, and you have to do them in succession.
My favorite mode as a kid, like
really?
Just my favorite thing.
I liked Royal Rumble more.
Too.
Royal
Rumble was great. Royal Rumble was great too. Yeah,
it was that on steroids basically, where like it wasn't just one at a time. You had to fucking deal with it. You know, they would form like mini alliances.
Oh yeah,
and then
I loved it.
And then betray them on the fly. Like they were like really. As far as wrestling goes, anyways, high drama.
Royal Rumble was the shit.
Yeah.
But this game is good. Like, I think part of my problem with this game is like, I played WWF WrestleMania WWF Steel Cage Challenge, which came out in '92, and that is definitely an upgrade over this game.
Okay.
And that game is so fun. So when I realized, I was like, wait, no, that's not the right one. And
I didn't know any of these other ones other than the first one existed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I haven't played that one either, so I look forward to that.
That one, Steel Cage Challenge, is like this, but like far better. So like after I played that, I was like, oh, wait, this is not the right one. I played this one. I was like, oh, damn it. Like, this is just not. Okay. It's much earlier on. Like, as a true wrestling fan at the time, I would definitely play the mess out of this. But like comparatively, it's like, this is not the version.
Well, I look forward to that because I mean, I give a fuck about wrestling now, but I have a ton of affinity for this IP at this time, and I would love a game that actually feels good with it for sure. You know?
Oh yeah.
So I look forward to that.
Get that.
Celebrity Profile comes at us next, and it's on Kadeem Hardison of A Different World fame, and I did not watch that show at all. Did you?
Well, I fucking love that show. It's because you're not black. Like for us, it was like it came on. It was made by Bill Cosby, and like it started out with I forget, one of his daughters. She was the main character in like the first season, but it quickly became about all these other characters. So I love this. They actually did a talk at like him and a couple other people did a talk at Microsoft a couple years ago when I first started, and it was awesome. Like having them all on like a call together. Like obviously before pre-pandemic they would have showed up on campus, but love that show. Love the show. Like the fact that he actually plays some games here. It's not just like one of those dudes that like...
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I played Nintendo once, kind of a thing.
Well, I know this dude. I didn't know his name, actually, but I immediately recognized him. I know this dude as one of the playground ballers of White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
He's the goofy one on Sydney's crew, right? So, I immediately recognized him for that. So, looking up, I always look up their shit to see what they're doing now. Dude, he's still working his ass off doing TV guest star arcs all the time. So, being a young actor on a hit TV show did not fuck his life like so many of them were predisposed to. So, pretty cool. Yeah, he's a big sports gamer. According to the profile, he mentions Racket Attack and Tecmo Bowl, but is really crushing on Super Spike V-Ball and NES Play Action Football at the time of the interview. So
awesome games, too.
Yeah, it felt very not full of shit, his description of actually playing those games for sure. They orchestrate a perfect segue in the celebrity profile using a story of Kadeem's about his being on Live with Regis and Kathy Lee and them pulling a planted Power Fest finalist out of the audience to whoop his ass in Super Spike V-Ball.
That's funny.
When transitioning to a 2-page spread in the 1990 PowerFest finals, which is what's next here. And these are short blurbs about some of the 90 finalists from across the country, all of which are getting all expense paid trips to Orlando for the national finals going down December 7th. These are short blurbs about some of the 90 finalists from across the country, all of which are getting all expense-paid trips to Orlando for the national finals going down December 7th. And there's a father-son combo out of Cleveland, and those are the two I'd have bested if I had just known the local tournament was happening and could have participated. That was significant to me. And they have the first female finalist, a young dude kicking ass and taking names despite having lupus, and then bringing the issue's narrative full circle. They have the kid who whooped Kadim's ass on Regis and Kathy Lee profiled here as well.
That's awesome.
Pretty fun. Bulletin board is next, mostly just back issues and 900 numbers here, but there is one very of note thing, and that is they are announcing the reissuing of Punch-Out without Mike Tyson's likeness and name, and are trying to frame it as an improvement over the original that has him in it. And they word that as, if you didn't buy Mike Tyson's Punch-Out when it was first released, you're in luck. What in the actual fuck kind of corporate agenda propaganda bullshit is this?
That is just insanity, man.
Yeah.
It should read, if you didn't get it, you missed out.
Right, you're fucked. Sorry, life sucks, but try to not commit suicide. Yeah, fucking just whatever. I mean, clearly, they have to be
right.
But like that's an insane route to go. Just say it's out, you can get it, it's re-released, bigger and better.
Don't try to hype it up like it's better. Come on.
Right, yeah. At least not on that basis, like because Mike Tyson was in it, like don't try to do it that way.
Like everybody wants to beat Mike. Like come on. That's the whole thing. Like every other
nobody
fighter
gives a
we can
shit
knock
about
the F out.
Mr. Dream. Get the fuck out of there. The next issue section reiterates all the 4-player action coming at us in the strategy guide. And then for Nintendo Power number 20, they are teasing Mega Man 3, Gremlins 2, and The Immortal. And then Howie's letter to readers is here too. He's just explaining the mag going monthly and some of the format changes, the now playing replacing the video shorts, new games, yada yada. And the last thing in the issue is the players poll, and they are sending motherfuckers to Super Bowl 25 in Tampa, Florida with this. You and 3 buddies get the trip covered, 4 tickets to the big game, and an NES satellite 4-player package. And the second prize is just that satellite package, which is explained here as the satellite peripheral, and copies of NES Collection Football and Super Spike V-Ball, which are both great 4-player games. That would have been great little come-ups.
Are you kidding me? In 1990, just give me that package. Like, I don't need the Super Bowl ticket. Like, that would be cool, but like, I want that package.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I wonder if I would, if I would have even wanted the Super Bowl. Would have been such a thing too. Like as a kid, like I wonder how much. Not being really into football yet, I wonder how much I would have even liked it. That'd be such an interesting little study. There's so much. There's got to be so much hubbub around it that it would be cool. And your dad would be fucking pumping it up, and you would have friends. You'd have friends with you. Someone else would be a group. There'd be some way to enjoy it for sure, even if the game wasn't important to you.
Into our nominations is Pipe Dream, Game Music 2, a game which is solid, but I'm not quite going to recommend it for a game app. Solid game, though, I will say. We didn't talk about it. I had more fun than I thought. I heard about the game a lot. I didn't really get it until I got into it a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, this is a game I feel like I could just play if I just needed some downtime, kind of a thing.
That's a great segue, Jay, because the power meter score for that is 62%. They give it a 3.2, a 2.8, a 3.1, and 3.3. So decent on the like, theme and fun, play control stuff. The actual like mechanics, like the feel good of the game loop, which is important for that kind of game, of course. So, So the now that I'm computing them and have this super specific data, I think it's a worthwhile little mini segment to give the aggregate score of this entire issue of Nintendo Power. We can do this for each one. Like, what is the score of the games in the issue, you know? So the aggregate of Nintendo Power issue 18 is 63.9%. So, and actually, you know what? Let me quickly pull up the graph of all of them so we can compare that to the macro. So yeah, so 63% is our best issue has been November 89 with 72.08%, and our shittiest issue has been 64 point. Our last issue, actually, September 90, was a 64.11%. So it's pretty much right in between, right?
Yeah, close.
Median numbers here on the games offered, despite some really kind of elite bangers. I think a high number of 80% in this compared to most. So I guess that means there's a lot of bullshit dragging it down. So let's talk about games. I think, why don't you go ahead and start us off, Jay, with the games we have on our nominations.
So this issue was very interesting. Like, there's a lot here that I could be convinced to play, a lot here that I absolutely don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. And then I think this really gets into the philosophy around choices for these games, right? Because there are some games like that I've played as a kid and I'm like, yes, I love this game. I would totally play it again. But do I want to play the game again, or do I want to go after a new game? Like, what is the philosophy? Is it going after something I haven't taken down yet just because I haven't beat it, or about experiencing something brand new? So I throw that out there.
Let's discuss. Let's interject then with what the last two game apps we've done. I think they've been more exploratory and less nostalgia revisits. They've been, Shadow of the Ninja, Philios was in there, Super Mario 3, I guess, is a pretty big nostalgia pluck, and a daunting one at that. What the hell was before that? I can't even think. What was before? There's another Genesis game was before Philios. We did 2 Genesis ones in a row, didn't we?
Well, Captain Skyhawk, I feel like was relatively recent. But I don't remember.
This is easily figured out, by the way. We can
look it back up.
We have apps that list this sort of thing. So, our last games were Super Mario 3, of course. Shadow of the Ninja.
Philios,
Strider on Genesis. That was the other one, yes. Yeah. Before that, Little Nemo, Cyberball. So
a good mix there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it'd be hard to argue either way as being due per se.
Yeah. Fair. But yeah, okay. I think with that said, my first one was Yo Noid, because again, fantastic platformer. I'm fairly certain I never beat it. I feel like that's something I would remember, like ending sequence wise. Like, I feel like I got very far and it was time to turn the game in or whatever, what have you. So Yo Noid, definitely. My second one, which if you're watching this live behind me, TMNT2, the arcade game. And so I just got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. And so that is arcade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, 2, and 3. NES Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turtles in Time 4 was like my favorite Turtles game of all time until the recent Shredders game came out. It also includes 3 Game Boy games as well, so you can play that. So I'm really impressed. Yeah, all the game. It's got like Tournament Fighters, which is, a 2D fighting game since those were popular at some point. And so if we were to ep this, I'd play it on the Xbox because right there, and it'd be cool to kind of jump in. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, that is my second choice. And then my third choice was, I was debating between Solstice, again, throwing it out there, and then Gremlins 2, which we decided we were going to wait on. So, hold that one back.
Okay. I have Solar Jetman, which I've been pushing for all those different reasons. Castlevania 3, just because of it's. I know it shocks me that you're cold on it, but it's so well revered, and I enjoyed that first one so much and the challenge of it that it's something that's kind of it's on my like bucket list of things I want to cross off. I've Gauntlet 2 in here. We talked about that as a fun thing. It's kind of interesting to think about it in a game episode context. Is there really anything to talk about
Yeah, I don't know when you put it like that.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
don't
like,
really
you know,
know.
there is complexities. The enemies have different mechanics and stuff, but I don't know if they're varied to even be worth mentioning, you know? So that might be something that would be better as just, something for us to just jump on and fuck around and do, you know? With some extra players. And then I have Kabuki Quantum Fighter, because I got all jazzed up about that. Because, I think it is. And maybe that's to its argument leverage detriment that it's so similar to Shadow the Ninja, I think.
Yeah.
And we just did that, so I can hear not wanting to do that. So I won't push that too hard. So we have an overlap, so there's no easy outs here, I guess. So I think the ones that we really agree are worth talking about are what? Yonoid. What was your second one?
Turtles 2.
Turtles 2, yeah. And then Solar Jetman and Castlevania 3.
I mean, I would take Solar Jetman over Castlevania 3 any day.
That's wild.
That's a hard like.
That's a crazy thing.
I will avoid the Castlevania series as much as possible. Like, that's
you enjoyed the first one, didn't you? Didn't you enjoy? You gave it
but
you gave it a
again,
thumbs
like
up.
I was willing to try it out because again, I'd played these so much, but I hadn't really beaten one, and so it's just I don't know, man. There's just nothing about that is interesting me at all.
There is like a. I don't know, and I think that's part of what the story world was meant to be. There is just kind of like this slow, plodding, workman-like vibe to the thought of playing it. I'll give you that, and I can see, especially like if you're really into action games, it weirdly doesn't really fulfill that.
Mm-hmm.
It's an action game, but it still has like a plodding pace to it that is kind of counter what action games like that are supposed to feel like. So I can see someone who likes that kind of game not necessarily being overly enthusiastic about Castlevania specifically. So that makes sense to me. I think it's something that I'm not going to let us get out of entirely, but I don't think it's going anywhere either. So I can see not pushing it here. So I'm willing to let that fall by the wayside out of our option set.
Like I would push more for Kabuki Fighter than that one, just because like when it compared, just because of my reaction to Castlevania. But that's
and that plays exactly into what I was just saying, because it does have a fluidity to it. Ninjas, you know, it feels like I said those mechanics felt good to me. But yeah, I think that is kind of a little bit repetitive for us game.
Yeah,
style wise.
Turtles 2, on the other hand, I love this game again. I would absolutely play it. But again, I also love playing these games multiplayer, like having a friend couch co-op with you and kind of play through them. I don't know.
We would obviously do that. What do you mean? We would obviously then, yeah.
Well, I mean, like just in terms of like, I just enjoy playing any Turtles game with a player. Like, you know, Turtles 1 was different because it was one player, and so you had to sit and like watch somebody play it until it was your turn, kind of thing. But like these 2 through 4 are just so much fun because they are like. You jump in.
Built around.
Yeah, they're built around that. That's
sure.
what you expect because it is arcade style, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one, too, that kind of... I mean, I don't know. There's so much. The thing is with that is you have the underlying IP that gives you so much to talk about that you don't have to worry about the game action itself maybe not supporting a whole game app, you know, or enough shit to talk about to make it really fun. But yeah, because the Turtles, it just goes without saying, there's so much there that we would have a blast with. All those characters... being able to use voice samples, just talk about the toys, yada yada. So that would be a fun thing for sure. Yeah, I mean, and that's something too. It does have, I think it does have a feature coming up in the next episode. Maybe did we already have a feature on that?
I feel like we had one on 1. I don't know if we had one on 2.
Yeah, no, it did. It was a feature in the last one, even though it wasn't out yet. It was a feature.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, it was a notable thing. So we have a feature we could play with too. I feel like that one also, though. I don't know. That's a good option. So we have So Solar Jetman, Turning Ninja Turtles 2, and Yonoid. Yonoid is such a fucking nostalgia thing for you, and it was good enough. I'd be open to playing Yonoid because it's one you've been talking about forever, and I was piqued enough by it, play style wise. So I'll let you pick. I'll let Solar Jetman keep sliding a little further down the fucking hill, and I'll let you pick between Yonoid and TMNT.
Oh, so tough. It is very. I salivate the idea of playing this on the Xbox, something different, you know, than kind of what I normally do, and just because that's something. Whenever there's a remake or remaster or anything on an updated system, I kind of like to try that out. But you'll know
Are they retooled or are they? Is it?
I think it's the exact same game. I don't think these are
one to one. It's just okay.
Yeah. Right. But like you'll know it. Even when we first saw it, I don't know if it was this episode or last episode, but I think I just picked it up and saw it like previously in a coming soon and just like played a bunch of it and immediately was like, yes, this game is great. And I never beat it. Oh, man. Gotta make me choose between these. All right, let's go Yo Noid.
Okay, I'm down. All right, so that's it. We will play Yo Noid by Capcom as our next game episode, and then we will be getting back to the realm of GamePro for issue 16, and you can subscribe to the pod. Actually, no, check that. Let's, I guess, debate a little bit what we're going to talk about side quest stuff. When do we want to? How much do we want to put off? Is it a bad time of the year? Do we want to start bug and jab about it?
Absolutely need to take some time before jumping into that. This is like the work break time coming up soon, and I do not want to like have that time where I'm just sitting in front of my computer.
It's summertime. Okay, I can hear waiting until fall on that. Okay, all right. Well,
at least give it a month. Give it a month. We'll talk about it next episode.
Okay, fair. All right. You can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided to whatever dumbass company that serves up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on the podcast platform of choice that you do listen to us on, or any other for that matter. Website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOH pod. You can email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram, and a link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlist, master playlist, is in the show notes. And there's the ISOH subreddit. If you want to get down with us on there. We don't have a Patreon, but if you'd like to give you money to things podcasters tell you to, and would like to do so in our direction, the Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities, and that is cool as fuck. ablegamers.org is where you can find them. Jay, what are your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E. That's where you can find me when I'm posting. That's my gamer tag. Hit me up on Xbox, but let me know who you are, please.
And I am on Instagram at MyShiftKeyIsBroke. I'm on Twitter, if that's still a functioning website, at Josh Folan. And my Oculus tag is MyShiftKeyIsBroke also. Okay, bye.
Bye.